Naruto, get stronger by hanging up. Chapter 21. Seeing Yu's reaction, Kakashi was a little surprised. You are really different from others. Other children will only think that they are very powerful and that I think highly of them when they hear these words. But you don't look proud at all. Kakashi didn't expect Yu to behave so maturely. Yu frowned. It's wrong to think that you are very powerful. I know my ability very well. It's impossible to have the strength of a Jonin within half a year, and it's even more impossible to go out on a mission with you. I still want to live well. Kakashi smiled, but Tongi and I both think you have this ability. Then you must have overestimated me. I don't have that ability. Yu shook his head and said. Okay, whether you have this ability or not, you have to try it to know. Kakashi didn't dwell on this issue. He really believed that Yu had the ability to become a Jonin in half a year. After speaking, Kakashi took out a piece of white paper from his ninja tool bag. Handed it to Yu. This is a chakra test paper, which can test the attribute of your chakra. Looking at the chakra test paper handed over by Kakashi, Yu hesitated for a moment and took it. But Kakashi didn't notice it. In fact, Yu didn't want Kakashi to know that he had 5 attributes of chakra. In the ninja world, there are not many people with 5 attributes of chakra, and they are even extremely rare. In Konoha, Yu only knew that Kakashi and the 3rd generation had them. Input your chakra into it, and you will know. Try it. Yu's eyes condensed slightly, and the chakra in his body instantly flowed into the chakra test paper in his hand. Kakashi stared at the chakra test paper in Yu's hand. He really wanted to know how many chakra attributes Yu had. Most people only have 1, and it is rare to have 2. Many senior ninjas originally only had 1 chakra attribute, and the extra one was acquired through acquired training. But the chakra attributes acquired through acquired training are naturally much worse than those born. Kakashi hoped that Yu had lightning attribute chakra. In this way, he could teach Chidori to Yu. At the moment when Yu inputted chakra into the chakra test paper, the chakra test paper was instantly split into 2 halves, and then water stains appeared on one side of the split chakra test paper, soaking the test paper. The other half wrinkled into a ball, and then a ball of flame appeared and burned a hole in one part, and the other part was crushed into powder like gravel. Kakashi was stunned. He couldn't speak. Yu was also a little surprised. Although he had known for a long time that he had 5 types of chakra. But it was the first time to actually verify it. After reacting, Kakashi looked at Yu in shock. You actually have 5 types of chakra attributes. This is really unexpected. For many years, Konoha has not had a ninja with 5 types of chakra attributes. You are really destined to become a great ninja like the 4th Hokage. Yu looked at Kakashi's excited face. They were all a little speechless. Although it is indeed a bit shocking to have 5 types of chakra attributes. But Kakashi himself has 5 types of chakra attributes, what is there to be excited about? And Kakashi actually compared himself with the 4th Hokage. Although Yu felt that he would definitely be stronger than the 4th Hokage in the future, the 4th Hokage was still a person that he could not reach. Teacher Kakashi, you are exaggerating too much, right? Is my chakra attribute hard to see? Yu did not show his understanding of chakra attributes. This kind of knowledge is not something a genin can understand. Although he had learned about chakra attributes in the ninja school, he had never learned about chakra test strips, let alone use them. Yu's words brought Kakashi back to reality. Kakashi smiled and said, you don't know that you have 5 chakra attributes, which means you have chakras of all attributes. Tell me, should I be excited? Kakashi didn't know much about the yin and yang attributes. And Kakashi thought that Yu would be as excited as he was when he heard that he had chakras of all attributes. Who knew that Yu didn't show any excitement at all? He just nodded calmly and said, that's good. Can I learn ninjutsu of all attributes? Kakashi was speechless. You don't seem surprised at all. Yu's face was calm, and he didn't look excited at all. What's there to be surprised about? I just care about I wonder if I can learn all kinds of ninjutsu. Kakashi shook his head. You are really different from other kids of your age. But never mind, you are right, you have 5 kinds of chakra, which means you can learn 5 kinds of ninjutsu. Do you know how many people have 5 kinds of chakra? Looking at your excitement just now, I know there are very few. Kakashi nodded. Yes, very few, so I was so excited just now. Now in Konoha, as far as I know, the only ninja with 5 kinds of chakra attributes besides you and me is the 3rd Hokage. Yu smiled. So you also have 5 kinds of chakra attributes, but think about it, after all, you have the title of Copy Ninja. If you don't have the corresponding chakra attributes, I'm afraid it will be difficult to copy the opponent's ninjutsu. Kakashi nodded. Yes, although you can copy many ninjutsu with the Sharingan. But not all ninjutsu can be copied. If the copier does not have the corresponding chakra attribute, it cannot be copied. And there are some forbidden techniques and blood limit that cannot be copied. Physical skills are also difficult to copy. Kakashi valued Yu very much at this time, and even explained the characteristics of the Sharingan to him clearly. Although this is not a secret. But ordinary ninjas really don't know. It is even more impossible for a ninja like Yu to know. You can imagine how much Kakashi trusts Yu at this time. Yu knows everything Kakashi said. So he is not surprised. Kakashi patted Yu's shoulder with relief. Starting today, I will use the most rigorous training to let you master the ninjutsu you should master in the shortest time. You must be mentally prepared. Yu nodded. I don't care. But I can only do my best. Kakashi smiled. He was very happy now. Yu's own conditions are really good. It is simply a piece of invaluable uncut jade. And it is the kind of material that can become a beautiful jade with a little carving. Chapter 22. Kakashi was very happy, but Yu asked Kakashi, Teacher Kakashi, do you really have time to teach me? You are still the instructor of Naruto and the others. Kakashi waved his hand. Don't worry, I will try my best to coordinate the schedule of both sides. Yu didn't want to think about what Kakashi would do. That's good. We have agreed today. Starting from tomorrow, you come here every night and I will wait for you here. Unless I have something to do, you have to come every day. Can you promise? Kakashi looked at Yu. Yu nodded. Of course I have no problem. Anyway, Yu has nothing to do every day. In addition, he doesn't have many friends. The two chatted for a while and then separated. Yu felt a little magical on the way back. Thinking, Kakashi actually came to teach me, is this considered to be the light of teacher Kimoto Tangi? Yu felt that if Kimoto Tangi and Kakashi were not colleagues, he would never come to teach him. But he guessed wrong. He didn't know how much his talent shocked Kakashi. The reason why Kakashi was willing to take over Team 7 was mainly because of the request of the 3rd Hokage. After all, Kakashi was once a disciple of the 4th Hokage, and he also served as the captain of the 4th Hokage's direct Anbu unit. Even when Naruto's mother Uzumaki Kushina was pregnant with Naruto, he was still the guard. In addition, Naruto still had the 9 tails sealed in his body, so Kakashi, the strongest Jonin in Konoha, was the best choice. And there was also Uchiha Sasuke in the team. Although the 3rd Hokage was indecisive about the destruction of the Uchiha clan, he was largely responsible for the annihilation of the Uchiha clan. But the 3rd Hokage also wanted to train Sasuke, and Kakashi was also good at developing the Sharingan. So Kakashi was the instructor of Team 7, although he didn't reject it, but it was not his own will. But for Yu, he really liked her. Yu's talent was very similar to his back then, or even stronger. The difference between Yu and him is that Yu is more peaceful than him. Although Kakashi was not proud on the surface, he was actually very proud in his heart. After all, he was much better than his classmates of the same period. He graduated from the ninja school at the age of 5, became a chunin at the age of 6, and a jonin at the age of 12. This experience is extremely rare in the entire ninja world. And he thinks Yu's talent is even better than his. You can imagine how much he expects Yu. The more talented the ninja is, the more serious the problems will be if they are not taught well. And Kakashi lowered his face in disgust with Kimoto Tangi to teach Yu in person. In addition to really liking Yu, he also hoped to teach Yu himself so that he would not have problems in the future. After Kakashi and Yu separated, he came to Kimoto Tangi. Kimoto Tangi looked at Kakashi, who appeared on his balcony, and shook his head helplessly. I said, can't you just go through the door? Kakashi leaned on the balcony. I have already agreed with him. His talent is far stronger than what you and I have seen before. Kimoto Ichi was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled with relief. I'm not very surprised. Kakashi also smiled. I don't think you would have thought of it. Oh. Kimoto Ichi looked at Kakashi. Kakashi looked at the woods outside and said, I tested his current strength. His performance surprised me. I'm afraid that ordinary chunin is no longer his opponent. Today, he and you just learned to use chakra during the day. When he fought with me, he used it very skillfully and very well. He now has the strength of chunin, and he is still a relatively strong chunin. Now he only lacks lethal ninjutsu. As long as he masters lethal ninjutsu, his strength may soon catch up with you. Kakashi sighed. Even now he still hasn't recovered. Yu's talent is too high, so high that he couldn't expect it. Muban Tangi smiled. This kid. Although it was unexpected, Muban Tangi still felt very relieved. After all, he really regarded Yu as his own disciple. If he was not good at fighting, he would never give Yu to Kakashi to teach. Kakashi continued, there is another thing you can never imagine. Yu has 5 attributes of chakra. The smile on Muban Tangi's face, who was just relieved, froze. What? He has all attribute chakra. Muban Tangi was shocked. Just now Kakashi said that Yu had the strength of a chunin. Although he was also surprised, it was not unimaginable. But having all attribute chakra is too special. Generally speaking, chakras with all attributes are basically born with blood. And chakras with all attributes are even rarer than some ninjas with bloodline limits. At present, only Kakashi and the 3rd generation Hokage have chakras with all attributes in Konoha. It can even be said that chakras with all attributes can be regarded as a bloodline limit. Miyamoto Yidung's eyes narrowed slightly. You didn't tell anyone about this, did you? Kakashi shook his head. I know how sensitive this is, so I won't tell anyone. It's a good thing to have chakras with all attributes, but it's easy to be targeted because it's too rare. Kakashi and Miyamoto Yidung were both in the Anbu before. It's clear that Konoha not only has sunshine on the surface, but also darkness buried under the roots of the trees. In addition, Yu is just a civilian without the protection of his family. Who knows if someone will catch him for human experiments. Miyamoto Yidung breathed a sigh of relief. When you teach him, you should also pay attention to let him use only 2 attributes of ninjutsu at ordinary times. Kakashi nodded. I will tell him. On this issue, Kakashi and Kimoto have the same idea. That is, before Yu has the power to protect himself, he must not let others know that he has chakra of all attributes. After Yu returned home, lying on the bed, he sank his consciousness into the consciousness space. Soon, a voice appeared in his mind. You have been idle for a day, your chakra has doubled, your physical strength has increased by 1%, and your speed has doubled. After coming to his senses, Yu felt very comfortable all over. After thinking about it carefully, Yu's mouth curled up slightly. The chakra growth is too terrifying. Now the chakra is too abundant, even almost as much as Kakashi's. As the speed doubled because I roughly learned the instant body technique. The difficulty of the general instant body technique is very low, and the principle is also very simple. which is to attach chakra to the soles of the feet to increase the speed of body movement. Therefore, the difficulty of learning the general instant body technique is D-level. In other words, any genin can learn it. Chapter 23. What surprised Yu the most was the growth of chakra. Now his chakra amount is close to Kakashi. You should know that Kakashi's chakra amount is very high among the Jonin. The reason why he showed a lack of chakra in the battle. It is because he does not have the blood of the Uchiha clan, which makes his body incompatible with the Sharingan. The Sharingan cannot be closed and consumes a lot of chakra. If there is no consumption of the Sharingan, Kakashi's chakra is definitely not inferior to that of ordinary cage-level strongmen. When he was 12 years old, he could easily release the B-level ninjutsu, Earth Style, Earth Flow Wall, and the range was tens of meters, which was very large. It is conceivable how much chakra he would have if he did not have the Sharingan. And now Yu actually has chakra close to Kakashi's level. What the growth of chakra brings is that Yu's mental energy and physical strength have increased a lot. After all, other people's chakra is extracted from the body. Yu's chakra is extracted from nature. So the more chakra there is, the better it nourishes Yu's body. After all, the chakra in Yu's body is converted from natural energy. To bear so much chakra, physical fitness is required to keep up. I don't know if it's just the beginning, so the chakra is growing very fast. Later, the amount of chakra is a lot, and the growth rate should not be so fast. Yu thinks that the reason why the chakra is growing so fast now is because his foundation is too poor, resulting in a small base of chakra. But Yu doesn't think about it. His current chakra amount is almost the same as Kakashi in his 20s. And he is only 12 years old. You know, even Naruto, without counting the Nine Tails chakra, is only about the same as Kakashi. And this is because the four symbols seal of the fourth Hokage has been converting the chakra leaked from the Nine Tails into Naruto's own chakra. You can imagine how terrifying Yu's chakra amount has become. On the next day, after Yu and Kimoto Tangi completed a D-level mission, Kakashi waited for him at the training ground early. Seeing Kakashi standing on the tree of the training ground with a book, Kimoto Tangi was speechless. I say you are too anxious, don't you think I won't let Yu go? Although he already knew that Kakashi would teach Yu in the future. But he didn't expect Kakashi to be so anxious. They had just completed the mission and were waiting at the training ground. At this time, Yamada Shuki and Benyi Tianzi had already returned home. Kimoto Tangi kept Yu and originally wanted to teach him some ninjutsu. Although he was not good at fighting, some interrogation ninjutsu were also useful. Who knew that Kakashi didn't give him this opportunity at all? Yu stood next to Kimoto Tangi, looking at Kakashi on the tree, and was also a little embarrassed. Although he knew that Kimoto Tangi had agreed before. But now that two teachers appeared at the same time, he still felt like he had betrayed Kimoto Tangi. Kakashi put away the novel in his hand. Jumped down from the tree. It's just that I didn't accept any missions today, I just have time. Let's go, Yu. Kakashi walked in front of Yu. Yu looked at Kimoto Tangi. Kakashi said lightly, your teacher agreed, don't worry. Kimoto Tangi was a little helpless, he wanted to teach Yu a ninjutsu. But Kakashi was here, he could only let Yu go. He patted Yu on the shoulder. Study hard, this guy looks lazy, but he is really strong. In Konoha, except for the third generation of Hokage, he is already the strongest ninja. Because Tsunade and Jiraiya were not in Konoha, there was no problem with what Kimoto Tangi said. After saying that, Kimoto Tangi turned around and disappeared on the spot. He was afraid of staying here any longer, and couldn't help but keep Yu. Looking at the place where Muban Tangi disappeared, Yu sighed. Teacher Tangi admires Teacher Kakashi very much. Kakashi smiled faintly. He also hopes that you can have strong strength as soon as possible and grow into a pillar to protect the village. Taking this opportunity, Kakashi came to preach. Yu was not disgusted and nodded. I should not let him down. Teacher Kakashi, didn't you accept the mission today? Kakashi nodded. Well, just completed a mission. I let them rest for a while. Okay, before practicing, I will take you to eat first. It's not good to practice on an empty stomach. Yu looked at Kakashi in surprise. Teacher Kakashi, you don't want me to treat you to a meal, right? Yu knew that Kakashi was very stingy. Kakashi was stunned for a moment, looking at Yu's surprised look. A little embarrassed. It seems that Yu knows about his stinginess. But he really didn't think of asking Yu to treat him. Why do you think so? Let's go, of course I'll treat you. Yu's mouth twitched slightly. I hope so. Treating is nothing, but Yu also lives on the inheritance left by his parents. He has just completed AD level mission and doesn't have much money. But since Kakashi wants to teach him ninjutsu, he should treat him. Kakashi is helpless. Is this the kind of person I am in your eyes? Yu left with a fake smile. Soon, the two came to Ichiraku Ramen. Seeing Kakashi appear, the boss Shuta and Ayame smiled and said, Hey, Kakashi. Kakashi is still very famous in Konoha. But after seeing Yu, Shuta was a little surprised. After all, Yu had no intersection with Kakashi before. Yu, what do you want to eat today? Ayame didn't think too much. When she saw Yu coming in, she leaned against the operating table and asked with a smile. Yu smiled and said, Give me a bowl of pork bone ramen. Kakashi sat next to Yu. Is one bowl enough? Yu nodded. Because Yu does not extract chakra from his body, he does not need to rely on food to replenish his body energy. Kakashi was a little skeptical. There will be brutal training later, and one bowl of ramen is not enough. No, one bowl is enough. Yu knew his situation very well. But Kakashi still said to Shuta, Give him 2 more bowls, 3 bowls of pork bone ramen, and give me 3 bowls of beef ramen. Kakashi knew very well how much the training would consume later, and he felt that Yu did not know. Although Yu was helpless, he could only acquiesce. After all, he couldn't say that he didn't rely on extracting body energy to maintain chakra. The interaction between Kakashi and Yu shocked Shuta. He could see that Kakashi treated Yu differently from others, just like a father to his own child. But the two had no interaction before. He really couldn't figure it out. But Shuta also knew that he couldn't ask about ninja matters. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been here for decades without going bankrupt. Chapter 24. Soon, 6 bowls of hot ramen were served. Yu turned to look at Kakashi. Kakashi asked in confusion, Why are you looking at me? Eat quickly. Yu did not speak. Soon Kakashi knew what Yu was thinking. He was speechless. You are so boring too, right? He knew that Yu wanted to see his true face under the mask. Yu smiled and said, Curious. Although Kakashi must be very handsome, he really wanted to know how handsome he was to make Shuta and Ayame's eyes full of peach blossoms after seeing him. Kakashi shook his head and could only slowly take off the mask to reveal his true face. When Yu saw Kakashi's true face, he was stunned for a moment. Teacher Kakashi, Kakashi, no wonder you are wearing a mask, otherwise those girls in Konoha would definitely block your door. Kakashi is indeed very handsome, and Yu knows very well how lethal Kakashi's appearance is to girls. Sure enough, seeing Kakashi's true face, Shuta and Ayame were already full of peach blossoms. Kakashi shook his head and started eating ramen. Eat quickly. Yu didn't say anything more and started eating. But just halfway through, a few more people came in. Yu didn't pay attention at first, but when the person saw Kakashi, he immediately roared, scaring Yu so much that he almost drew out his kunai to prepare for battle. Hey, Kakashi, I didn't expect you to be here. Yu looked at the person and had a headache. Kakashi was the same, looking at the man in front of him wearing a green tights and showing a mouthful of white teeth while talking. He said helplessly, Kai. The person was Might Guy. Behind him were his 3 students, Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee, and Tenten. As soon as he came in, Neji's eyes never left Yu. What Yu didn't know was that Neji noticed him as soon as he came in. Because Yu gave him a strong sense of threat. He always felt that the man in front of him could threaten him. This was something he had never experienced among his peers. Kai sat next to Kakashi in a familiar manner, and Ninki and the other 2 also sat next to Yu. After sitting down, Kai also noticed the existence of Yu. Looking at Kakashi, Kai was a little surprised. Kakashi, is this your student? Because Kai had been on a mission outside before, he didn't know who Kakashi's student was. Kakashi paused, nodded and said, yes. Kai didn't notice Kakashi's expression. When he heard that Yu was Kakashi's student, he immediately smiled and said, Kakashi, your student looks very energetic. Do you want to learn physical skills from me? Kakashi's mouth twitched slightly. No need, I can teach myself. Kai laughed loudly, and he was just talking. Of course, if Yu really wanted to learn from him, he would teach him. There are very few ninjas who are good at physical skills in the ninja world, so he is naturally happy to have one more. And he is Kakashi's student. If Yu and Kai learn it, doesn't it mean that he has won over Kakashi in this aspect? Kai is very happy to win over Kakashi. Tiantian, who is sitting next to Yu, looks at Yu curiously. Hello, my name is Tiantian, you are Kakashi's student. Hello, my name is Yu. Seeing Tiantian and Yu greet each other, Xiaoli and Ninki also come over. My name is Rock Lee, I am Kai's student, and I am determined to defeat the genius ninja. Xiaoli showed a mouthful of shining white teeth after saying this. This look is exactly the same as Kai, and Yu looks a little embarrassed. And Ninki on the side said lightly, my name is Hyuga Ninki, I think you are a little different. Ninki said bluntly. Yu gave him a very unusual feeling. Yu didn't say anything, just laughed and said, is that so? Kakashi, who was standing by, saw that Neji looked serious, and quickly said, Kai, stop talking nonsense, order something quickly, the manager has been standing there for a long time. Kai didn't think too much and started to order. Kakashi looked at Yu, eat quickly. Yu knew what Kakashi was worried about. Neji had the Byakugan, and if he used the Byakugan to explore Yu's body, he would definitely find the unusually large amount of chakra in Yu's body. Yu nodded and quickly finished 3 bowls of ramen. After eating, Kakashi took Yu out of Ichiraku ramen. Kai didn't notice. But Neji was interested in Yu. Yu gave him a completely different feeling from other people of his age. He would not be wrong about that real sense of threat. After coming out of Ichiraku ramen, Kakashi and Yu walked on the street. Kakashi said, just now, Ninki noticed, he has been paying attention to you, do you feel it? Yu nodded. It's a bit strange that his attention is always on me. Kakashi sighed. Ninji was the first in the last ninja class, and he also has the Byakugan. In the past year, his strength has reached the level of Chunin. He already has the intuition of a ninja. Yu nodded. I have indeed heard of him. When he was in the ninja school, he was very famous. Yu and Nechi studied in the same school for 5 years. Because Nechi is 1 year older than Yu. The ninja school is a 6-year system. It's just that Yu's qualifications were indeed mediocre before, and Yu deliberately made his presence very low. So Nechi didn't pay much attention to him. Kakashi looked at Yu. It would be troublesome if he knew that you have a huge amount of chakra in your body. Guy is a big mouth, and he can't hide your things. Quote. This is also the reason why Kai begged the 3rd generation to join the Anbu, but the 3rd generation refused to accept him. He is suitable for straightforward tasks, and he is generally not allowed to perform tasks involving confidentiality. Yu nodded. I can feel it. But you were so anxious to come out just now, I'm afraid it would be difficult for Neji not to notice it. Kakashi said helplessly. There is no way. I'm worried that Neji will really roll his eyes if I wait a little longer. Yu smiled. In fact, even if he knows, it's nothing. I think with Neji's personality, he shouldn't say anything casually. Kakashi nodded. It's really unlikely with his personality, but just in case, it's better to be careful. Soon, the two came to the back mountain of Konoha. Next to the lake under the waterfall. Kakashi stood in front of Yu and said seriously, I have two plans, I want you to choose which one. Yu looked at Kakashi. You say. The first option is that I will directly teach you a difficult ninjutsu, so that your current strength can be improved to a very high level. The second option is that I will teach you the basic ninjutsu first, and then gradually increase the difficulty of the ninjutsu. After that, Kakashi looked at Yu silently. Yu pondered for a while, raised his head and said calmly, I choose the first option. Yu thought Kakashi would be unhappy. Unexpectedly, Kakashi was not angry, but smiled and said, as I expected, you will definitely choose the first option. In fact, I also hope that you will choose the first option. After all, you are different from ordinary people. If you are the same as ordinary people, it will be disadvantageous to you. Chapter 25. Kakashi patted Yu's shoulder. Turned and walked to the lake. Do you think I can have a certain reputation in the ninja world just by relying on my Sharingan? Yu walked to Kakashi's side. Looking at the lake, he said, in addition to the Sharingan, there should be a very lethal ninjutsu to cooperate with it. After all, you are a Jonin, it is impossible that you don't have a bottom-of-the-box ninjutsu. Kakashi looked at Yu and smiled. Yes, I once developed a ninjutsu. If there was no Sharingan, it would be a very dangerous ninjutsu. After the Sharingan, that ninjutsu became a very lethal ninjutsu. Thinking of the time when Chidori was just developed, it was indeed an extremely dangerous ninjutsu without the cooperation of the Sharingan. Because if you are not careful, you will be killed by the opponent. Kakashi sighed. If my former friend hadn't transplanted this Sharingan for me, I would not have been able to get to where I am now. Although the Sharingan does consume a lot of Kakashi's chakra. But it did raise Kakashi's upper limit. Kakashi's combat talent made up for the consumption of chakra by the Sharingan. As long as the consumption of chakra is carefully calculated, Kakashi's Sharingan will greatly enhance him. Yu looked at Kakashi. Kakashi thought Yu was wondering who transplanted the Sharingan to him. So he explained to him, do you want to know who transplanted this eye to me? Kakashi smiled. If it were someone else, Kakashi would not easily say it. But Yu was someone he was sure to take as a disciple, so he would not hide anything from him. In a sense, Kakashi's attention to Yu was higher than Sasuke and Naruto. Yu was stunned for a moment. He was just distracted just now. But since Kakashi misunderstood, he would not explain. So he nodded. I am indeed a little curious. Kakashi sat by the lake, patted his side, and motioned Yu to sit next to him. After Yu sat down, Kakashi said, after I graduated from the ninja school, I was too young to get along with the ninjas on the same team. As a result, we had to wait until the classmates who entered school with us graduated before we successfully formed a team. In a sense, I didn't graduate early. Kakashi smiled. Yu naturally said what Kakashi said. He thought Kakashi would teach him ninjutsu directly, but he didn't expect to talk about the past. But it also shows that Kakashi trusts him very much, otherwise he wouldn't tell him these things. And this eye was transplanted to me by my friend Uchiha Obito. Back then, Kakashi told Yu about his past with Uchiha Obito and Nohara Rin. Although he had known about it for a long time, it was the first time Yu heard the specific details. This eye is Obito's relic, and it is also of great help to me. Yu had a blank expression on his face, but he was thinking in his heart that if Kakashi knew what Obito was doing now, he would probably feel embarrassed about what he just said. Kakashi looked at Yu after he finished speaking. I hope you will protect your cherished friends in the future, and don't be like me. It is very painful to lose friends. Kakashi said this sincerely. He really didn't want Yu to suffer the same fate as him. Yu didn't say anything, but just nodded. Kakashi also stood up. Okay, let's not talk about the sad things. Do you know why I plan to teach you, Chidori? You don't have the Sharingan, and this ninjutsu is obviously very dangerous. Kakashi looked at Yu, wondering if he knew his purpose. Yu thought for a moment and said, do you think my dynamic vision is very strong? Strong enough to be comparable to the Sharingan. Kakashi smiled and patted Yu's shoulder. Yes, when I tested you last night, I found that your dynamic vision is extremely sharp. Even stronger than the average Sharingan. Chidori is a skill that requires high-speed movement and extremely strong dynamic vision. You can do it. Yu nodded, but I think this ninjutsu is difficult to master. Yes, the difficulty of learning this ninjutsu is A level. If there is no strong dynamic vision, the difficulty will be S level. Before learning this ninjutsu, you need to practice your body movement to a very high level. And this ninjutsu also consumes a lot of chakra, but this is useless to you. Your chakra level has reached the level of a Jonin. With your chakra level, you can release it about 10 times a day. I can release it 20 times a day, and the amount of chakra is already half of mine. Kakashi didn't know that Yu's chakra had increased again. However, the chakra consumption of Chidori is still not as high as Reikiri. The difficulty of learning is also different. Chidori is A level and Reikiri is S level. Kakashi can only release Reikiri 4 times a day now. You can imagine how much chakra Reikiri consumes. Yu didn't interrupt Kakashi and listened attentively. Kakashi nodded with satisfaction. He was very satisfied with Yu's learning attitude. Although the learning requirements of Chidori are very high, you already have all the conditions. You are very strong in dynamic vision, physical fitness, and chakra amount. There is no need to train in this aspect at all. I can teach you Chidori directly. I will tell you the principle of Chidori now. After you learn Chidori, I will teach you Reikiri, the advanced version of Chidori. Kakashi had high expectations for Yu. He didn't think it would take Yu a long time to learn Chidori. So he told him directly that the ninjutsu after Chidori was Reikiri. After Kakashi finished speaking, he told Yu the principle of Chidori. Compared with ordinary ninjutsu, Chidori is indeed very complicated. It is indeed worthy of being a ninjutsu developed by Kakashi. Most people really can't understand it, let alone learn it. After talking for more than 10 minutes, Kakashi looked at Yu. He couldn't guarantee that Yu would understand it in one go. If you don't understand, I can explain it again. This ninjutsu is very complicated. It's normal not to understand it the first time. Yu nodded. I understand. To prevent Kakashi from not believing it, Yu analyzed the principle of Chidori, and made the details of this ninjutsu very clear. Those who don't know would think that he has mastered this ninjutsu for a long time. Yu really understood it after listening to it once. Now his thinking is countless times stronger than before. Especially when it comes to ninjutsu. Kakashi was stunned after hearing it. If I had never taught you, I would have thought that you had mastered this ninjutsu for decades. You are so skilled. Chapter 26. Yu smiled and said, maybe I am more interested in this kind of ninjutsu, so I understand it better. Kakashi certainly didn't believe it. After all, Chidori is an A-level learning difficulty, and it's not just an ordinary A-level. Lightning escape ninjutsu is inherently more difficult to learn than other escape ninjutsu, and he was not very old when he developed Chidori. So many theories are very complicated. Even for him, it was not easy to understand at the beginning. Yu actually understood it after listening to it once, and not only did he understand it, but he was also very familiar with the details of this ninjutsu. He even simplified many steps. Kakashi felt that this ability was definitely not something that could be explained by a better understanding ability. But Kakashi was also very happy. Yu Yu was like a bottomless treasure cave. He would always give him surprises. After coming to his senses, Kakashi said, "I'll show you how to use this ninjutsu. Watch carefully, this ninjutsu is very dangerous. If you make a mistake, it will lead to serious consequences." Yu Yu nodded. Of course, he knew the danger of this ninjutsu. After all, it was an A-level ninjutsu. Kakashi walked to a boulder more than 2 meters high. The boulders by the lake are very hard and not so easy to break. Kakashi stood in front of the boulder. His eyes condensed slightly, and his hands turned into claws. Chakra condensed in his palm in an instant. Sizzle tilde. In an instant, several blue arcs appeared in Kakashi's hand. Chakra has even condensed into a solid, and the blue arcs condensed more and more. In an instant, it turned into thunder and lightning like snakes. The terrifying arcs turned the leaves around Kakashi into ashes. Kakashi seemed to be in the thunder, and the trembling arcs of electricity were struggling like a snake whose body was being grasped. Yu Yu, who was standing aside, was shocked by this scene. This was the first time he had seen such a terrifying ninjutsu since he came to this world. The horror of Chidori was far beyond his impression. The dense lightning even illuminated the surrounding area of dozens of meters. Even if he was standing more than 10 meters away from Kakashi, he could feel his hair standing up, and his hair almost stood up. Looking at this terrifying scene, Yu Yu swallowed his saliva. This was the first time he experienced the horror of an elite jonin. And all this happened in the blink of an eye. Kakashi condensed lightning in an instant. It was like screaming like millions of birds, even more terrifying. Lightning style, Chidori. Crack, boom. With a low hum from Kakashi, he turned into a residual image, and a flash of light flashed across. Kakashi appeared dozens of meters away, and the boulder in front of him had been smashed into pieces. Countless pieces of stone flew everywhere, the explosion sounded through the canyon, and waves appeared on the calm lake. Yu Yu was stunned. He had already jumped dozens of meters away. But even so, he still felt the terrifying power of the ninjutsu. Too scary. Is this the power of A-level ninjutsu? It's really terrible. It's unbelievable that this was developed by a 12-year-old boy. Yu Yu completely understood the value of Kakashi, the genius. He developed this terrifying ninjutsu at the age of 12, and he deserves the name of a genius. After releasing Chidori, Kakashi stood up and shook his hands. Looking at Yu Yu standing dozens of meters away. Smiled. You are very fast. How about it? Do you understand it? Do you want me to demonstrate it again? Kakashi has become accustomed to the power of this ninjutsu. Yu Yu was shocked because the power was much stronger than he had imagined. It can be said that the destructive power of Chidori will be affected within tens of meters of the explosion center. And that was only the power of the aftermath. You can imagine how desperate it would be to be attacked by the main body of this ninjutsu. I'm afraid that if an ordinary person is attacked, his body will be cut into pieces. After coming to his senses, Yu Yu jumped down from the tree. Just now, he was worried about being affected. At the moment Kakashi attacked, he used the instant body technique to move to a tree tens of meters away. Looking at the huge rock that had been broken into pieces, Yu Yu sighed. The power of this ninjutsu is too terrifying. So it also consumes a lot of chakra. The average chunin will probably run out of chakra after releasing it once. Kakashi explained. Yu Yu nodded. Kakashi asked, how is it? Have you realized anything? Yu Yu closed his eyes, and when he opened his eyes, a bright light flashed in his eyes. Although this ninjutsu is very complicated, but Yu Yu still knows how to release it. He looked at Kakashi and nodded. Kakashi was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head and smiled bitterly. That's right, maybe this ninjutsu is difficult for others, but it may not be that difficult for you. You can practice this ninjutsu today. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Kakashi walked to the side and leaned against the tree to watch Yu. He wanted to watch Yu practice. Yu walked to another boulder. There were many such stones by the lake. Kakashi's eyes were fixed on Yu. He wanted to know if Yu could learn it tonight. Yu didn't know if he could. But he felt that he had completely mastered the key points of this ninjutsu. He even had a feeling that he had mastered this ninjutsu for decades and was very familiar with it. But Yu would not say it out loud, he thought it might be an illusion. Standing in front of the boulder, Yu began to condense chakra into his right hand. It only took a moment. The chakra in Yu's body condensed into his right hand. Suddenly, a click sounded. Sizzle tilde. Dozens of lightning bolts as thick as arms suddenly condensed around Yu, which were countless times thicker than the lightning bolts that Kakashi had just condensed. The lightning bolts that Kakashi had just condensed were as thick as chopsticks, while the lightning bolts condensed around Yu were as thick as an adult's arm. Moreover, the colors of the lightning bolts were completely different. The lightning bolts condensed by Yu were actually golden. This shocked Kakashi, who was standing not far away. What's going on here? How could Yu condense this kind of chakra? Yu's chakra was completely different from that of ordinary ninjas. If the chakra of ordinary ninjas condensed into a physical entity, it would be blue. But the chakra condensed by Yu was actually golden. As a result, the chakras were also golden when they were transformed into lightning bolts. What was even more terrifying was that the lightning bolts condensed by Yu only made a slight sizzling sound. There was no sharp hissing sound like the normal chidori. What was even more bizarre was that the golden arcs that Yu condensed seemed to have life, moving around Yu at an extremely fast speed like a giant python. Zzz tilde. Yu did not notice that the chidori he condensed was different from Kakashi's. At this time, his eyes were completely on the boulder several meters away. Chapter 27. After completing the condensation of the ninjutsu, a glimmer flashed in Yu's eyes. Lightning style, chidori. Crack, bang, boom. Just when Yu launched the attack. Like a meteorite hitting a planet, there was a violent vibration in the surrounding hundreds of meters. The dazzling light at the center of the explosion illuminated the surrounding thousands of meters as if it were daytime. And countless golden lightnings connected the sky and the earth, and the hundreds of meters around Yu were like a thunder lake. The terrifying energy was as terrifying as the end of the world. The terrifying lightning lasted for a full 10 seconds. And in these 10 seconds, the back mountain of Konoha was like being bombarded by a high-concentration tailed beast ball. The earth shook, the mountains collapsed, and everything within hundreds of meters around Yu's ninjutsu was destroyed. It was too terrifying. When the thunder dissipated, only a deep pit hundreds of meters wide and tens of meters deep was left. And in the center of the deep pit, Yu was lying in it. After more than 10 seconds, Kakashi appeared beside him, hugged him and disappeared on the spot. If he didn't leave, Yu would have to stay in prison later. Sure enough, after a minute, several ninjas wearing animal masks appeared around the giant pit. These people were naturally ninjas from the Anbu. Such a big commotion was no less than the explosion of the tailed beast Jade that year. Several Anbu ninjas looked at the deep pit in front of them and all took a breath. Who did this? Did the Nine Tails break the seal? In the minds of several Anbu ninjas, only the tailed beasts could cause such terrible damage. Even the third generation of Hokage could not create such terrible damage. Will there be an invasion by foreign enemies? But this statement was quickly denied. The barrier is silent. Even the most powerful ninja can't break through the barrier without making any noise. It should be someone from the village, and it should be the Nine Tails. It may be that the Nine Tails Jinchuriki has gone berserk. Several Anbu ninjas instantly locked their target on Naruto. After all, in Konoha, he is the only one who can do this now. Or, only the 9 tails in his body can do this kind of damage. Let's go back and report to the Hokage first. Several Anbu ninjas instantly disappeared beside the deep pit. It was already late at night, and ninjas were jumping all over the roofs of the village. The noise made by Yu was really too loud. It was no different from the noise made by the 9 Tails Rebellion. On the other side, after Kakashi sent Yu home, he immediately gathered at the Hokage building. He is an elite Jonin of Konoha. If he is not there, he will be the first to be suspected. On the way to the Hokage building, Kakashi looked solemn. What exactly is the power in Yu? Too terrifying, even more terrifying than the 9 tails in Naruto's body. Kakashi is very worried about Yu. Yu hasn't woken up yet. He is more worried about what exactly the power in Yu is. It doesn't look like a tailed beast, but the arcs released by Yu are really like life. And the power is extremely terrifying. Yu's chakra is obviously not that much, but he releases such a terrifying amount of chakra. Kakashi knows very well that the power released by Yu just now, except for the tailed beast ball, can't be achieved by the destructive power of ninjutsu. That is enough to change the terrain. Kakashi doesn't know the power of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. The power of these two people has exceeded the imagination of the current ninja. Even Kakashi doesn't know the horror of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Of course, even if these two people are here, they will be very shocked to see the power released by Yu. You know, Yu is only 12 years old. And what Yu released was a high concentration of natural energy. That's right, the power Yu released just now was a high concentration of natural energy. The reason why it caused such destructive power is that natural energy is extremely violent when it is not converted into fairy chakra. And it is uncontrollable. The natural energy released by Yu is not only highly concentrated, but also controllable. If it was really uncontrollable, the moment Yu released it just now, his body would be beaten to ashes by the natural energy. It is because the moment he released the thunder, the equally powerful natural energy turned into a shield to protect him. And those energy shields are indeed conscious, and their consciousness is to protect Yu from the harm of thunder. But even with the protection of natural energy, Yu still fell into a coma because all his power was drained away. Yu actually, it was a failure just now. He failed to control the chakra, which caused all the natural energy in his body to be drawn out, and also caused the natural energy in the surrounding environment to riot. The amount of chakra in Yu's body was definitely not enough to cause such terrible damage. The cause was that the natural energy in his body was over-output, which caused the natural energy around him to be affected. But Kakashi didn't know, he thought there was some kind of power hidden in Yu's body. And he also knew that the chakra in Yu's body was the same senjutsu chakra as Jiraiya's when he entered the sage mode. Kakashi thought for a while and said, Yu is probably born with senjutsu chakra. The power of senjutsu chakra is much greater than that of ordinary chakra. Maybe it's because his chakra is senjutsu chakra, so when he outputs the same chakra, it causes such a result. Kakashi found a reason. But he didn't know that even if the chakra in Yu's body was all senjutsu chakra, it would definitely not be able to release such a terrifying power. Let alone Yu, even if Jiraiya came, he couldn't do it. Yu himself couldn't do it. Soon, Kakashi came to the top of the Hokage building. There were already dozens of ninjas standing here. At least they were all at the level of special Jonin. Seeing Kakashi appear, Kai came over first. At this time, he looked solemn, and it was obvious that the terrifying power just now made even Kai very worried. That was the power of the tailed beast, in no way inferior. Kakashi, what do you think it is? As soon as he saw Kai, he asked. Kakashi hesitated a little, whether to tell the third generation about Yu. Now he didn't know whether the power in Yu's body was a threat to the village. But when he thought of the way Yu talked to him tonight, he still chose to hide it from the third generation. After all, he even watched Naruto, the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, and he felt that he could also watch Yu. Not to mention that Yu was much more stable than Naruto. It is very likely that it was a strong person who broke into Konoha. Guy shook his head. I don't think so, because there is no movement in the village's barrier. And why didn't the strong person who broke into the village attack the village? Chapter 28. Kakashi looked at Kai. Then what do you think it is? Kai said solemnly. I think it might be the Nine Tails. Kai didn't know that Naruto was Kakashi's student yet. Kakashi was silent. He naturally knew it wasn't Naruto. Kakashi, I think it was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki who went berserk. Kakashi shook his head. I don't think so. Kai was a little confused. Who else could cause such great damage besides the Nine Tails? The explosion just now changed the terrain of the back mountain of Konoha. No one else could do it except the tailed beast ball. If Kai knew about Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, he would definitely not say so. Just as the two were talking, the third Hokage came over. Kakashi, how is Naruto doing now? The third Hokage also thought it might be Naruto who went berserk. This kind of thing often happens in the 5 major ninja villages. Jinchuriki going berserk happens often. Not every Jinchuriki can become a perfect Jinchuriki. Kakashi thought for a moment and said, Hokage-sama, I don't think it should be Naruto. The third generation frowned after hearing this. The third generation felt that Kakashi was protecting Naruto. He didn't blame Kakashi. He had high hopes for Naruto. It can be seen from the fact that he put Naruto in Team 7. According to the third generation's idea, one of Kakashi's Team 7 will definitely become Hokage in the future. Although Naruto is a Jinchuriki, it is obvious that the third generation values him very much. In fact, in the third generation's idea, they already had a candidate for the next generation of Hokage when he asked Kakashi to lead Naruto. Basically, one of them is chosen from Naruto and Sasuke. Because the previous generations of Hokage were basically chosen in this way. The reason why the third generation values Sasuke, a member of the Uchiha clan, is because the Uchiha clan is gone now. Even if Sasuke becomes Hokage, he will not be affected by the Uchiha clan. So in fact, don't think that Sasuke and Naruto's status in Konoha is very awkward at this time. But in fact, they are all candidates for the next Hokage of the third generation. Naturally, the third generation does not want Naruto to do anything that threatens the village. But the horrible explosion in the back mountain of Konoha can only be done by Jinchuriki. Even if he doesn't want it to be Naruto, a lot of evidence points to Naruto. The third generation looked at Kakashi seriously. Kakashi, I hope you can understand the seriousness of this matter. But Kakashi shook his head. Hokage, if it was Naruto, who stopped it? Except for you, there is no one in Konoha village who can stop the runaway Naruto. Not to mention that releasing such a powerful ninjutsu means that Naruto was completely out of control at that time. The Nine Tails is about to break the seal. But in fact, apart from that explosion, it disappeared. The third generation was stunned for a moment. What Kakashi said is indeed correct. If it was really Naruto, who could stop it? And Kakashi also gave the third generation a good excuse. Originally, the third generation did not want people to associate this matter with Naruto. Now he can use this as an excuse to clear Naruto of responsibility. I will let the Anbu investigate this matter clearly. The village's vigilance should be strengthened recently. After agreeing with Kakashi's analysis, the third generation said. After that, the third generation took the senior ninjas of Konoha village to the back mountain. When he saw the huge pit in the back mountain, even the third generation took a breath of cold air. This level of destruction, except for the tailed beast ball, I'm afraid only those two can do it. The third generation thought of something. The third generation frowned. He actually agreed with Kakashi's analysis just now. Now that he came here, he did not feel the chakra of the Nine Tails. The Nine Tails is a tailed beast. Every time the Nine Tails goes berserk, it will leave a strong chakra at the scene. And there is none here. He completely agreed with Kakashi's analysis. But if it wasn't Naruto, it would be even more terrifying. It is understandable that the tailed beasts can do such damage. But for normal ninjas to do such things, only those at the level of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama can do it. But can Konoha deal with monsters of this level? Thinking of this, the third generation looked extremely solemn. And the huge pit in front of them also stunned the senior ninjas who came with the third generation. They couldn't imagine what kind of terrifying ninjutsu could cause such damage. Even Kai looked extremely solemn. Even if I open the seventh gate, I can't cause such damage. It's too terrible. Kakashi looked at the huge pit in front of him, and even though he saw it for the second time, he still felt a lingering fear. Yu could actually survive such an ninjutsu. It is conceivable that he must have some powerful power hidden in him. But he himself does not know. If he knew, Yu would not release it. Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai and others looked at the huge pit in front of them with solemn expressions and remained silent. The scene in front of them really made people wonder what to say. The third generation shook his head. I don't know if it is someone from outside the village or someone from the village. I hope it is someone from the village. With such a terrifying power, if it is someone from outside the village, I am afraid that there will be another ninja in the ninja world who looks down on those two. Although the ninja in the village caused such a level of damage, it also shows that this ninja is definitely a threat. But the third generation still does not want such a powerful ninja to be a ninja from outside the village. If it is a ninja from the village, at least he can be won over. If it is a ninja from outside the village, and it releases such a level of destruction to Konoha village, it can be imagined that this person definitely has no good feelings towards Konoha. After watching for a while, the third generation turned around expressionlessly and said to the Anbu ninja beside him, "We have been closely monitoring the situation in the back mountain during this period, and what happened tonight has been kept secret from the outside world. We will cover it up by saying that the Anbu is experimenting with a certain ninjutsu." The several Anbu ninjas standing next to the third generation nodded. The third generation looked at Kakashi. "Kakashi, come with me." Kakashi nodded. Soon, the two disappeared in the back mountain of Konoha. Many villagers who were waiting for news late at night went back to rest when they learned that the Anbu was experimenting with a certain ninjutsu. They thought someone was attacking the village. But such an excuse can deceive ordinary villagers and ordinary ninjas. But it can't deceive Danzo. The headquarters of Konoha Route. Leaning on a cane and with one eye bandaged, Danzo looked at the ninja kneeling on one knee in front of him. As the Nine Tails Jinchuriki going berserk. Danzo's voice came. The root ninja in front of him said, the Nine Tails chakra was not sensed at the scene. But the damage caused can only be done by the tailed beast ball. Danzo was a little surprised. Isn't it the Nine Tails? The Nine Tails chakra was not sensed at the scene, so it shouldn't be. Danzo stood up, his face extremely solemn. If it's not the Nine Tails, then who is it? Is this person a threat to Konoha? Thinking of this, Danzo couldn't sit still. What is Hiruzen doing? Did he develop some secret weapons? Danzo was worried that the third generation would make some powerful weapons that would be a threat to him. Chapter 29. Danzo has always been eyeing the position of Hokage. The reason why he always felt that he had a chance to become Hokage was because he controlled the roots of Konoha. In Konoha, his power was only below that of the third generation. If the third generation developed some powerful weapons, his voice in Konoha would be greatly reduced. Of course, the reason why Danzo had such an idea was that the third generation was too indecisive before. In fact, with the prestige and strength of the third generation, as long as he was determined to get rid of Danzo, Danzo would not have much resistance at all. On the other side, the third generation and Kakashi came to Naruto's house. Naruto was not awakened by the noise at night, he was lying on the bed and sleeping soundly. Looking at Naruto's appearance, The third generation was completely sure that what happened tonight had absolutely nothing to do with Naruto. After quietly leaving Naruto's house, the third generation and Kakashi came behind the Hokage rock. Standing behind the Hokage rock, overlooking the entire Konoha, the voice of the third generation came faintly. Kakashi, that person is related to you, right? The third generation said calmly, but Kakashi felt his affirmation. Kakashi was shocked. Kakashi's absent-mindedness made the third generation more certain. In fact, he just came to his senses. Kakashi was a little different tonight than usual. He was too calm. In the past, Kakashi would definitely not be so calm when such a thing happened. So the third generation guessed whether it was related to Kakashi. Kakashi, it seems that you don't trust me. The third generation said in a low voice. Kakashi didn't speak. But thinking that Kakashi used to be a ninja in the Anbu, the third generation could understand. Kakashi did know too much about him before. The third generation continued. Kakashi, you should know that since I have already guessed it, you can't hide it for long. If it is someone who poses no threat to the village, I will definitely protect him, although I don't want internal strife in the village. But it doesn't mean that I will compromise without a bottom line. As long as that person poses no threat to the village, I can guarantee his safety, and I will not compromise even if I face Danzo. The third generation turned and looked at Kakashi. He said in a serious tone. Kakashi still didn't want to tell the third generation. But when he thought of the third generation's words, he was now eyeing him. It was only a matter of time before Yiyu's affairs were exposed. Kakashi sighed. You really saw it. The third generation's eyes narrowed slightly. Is he really from our village? Kakashi raised his head and nodded. Yes. I was worried about his safety before, but now he doesn't have the ability to protect himself. The third generation was stunned for a moment. You mean that someone who released such a powerful ninjutsu doesn't have the ability to protect himself? The third generation thought he had heard it wrong. You know, even he couldn't do that ninjutsu just now. Kakashi nodded seriously. Yes, the ninjutsu he released just now was actually that Chidori I taught him. I just don't know why the effect he released was so terrifying. The third generation was stunned. You mean, the ninjutsu just now was Chidori? If Kakashi hadn't said it himself, the third generation would never believe it. Although Chidori is an A-level ninjutsu with extremely strong lethality, it is definitely not so destructive. At most, it can only penetrate a boulder of several meters. And the ninjutsu just now is enough to smash a mountain. That is a ninjutsu of the level of the tailed beast Jade, which is not comparable to Chidori. Even if the third generation didn't believe it, Kakashi still nodded. It's Chidori. The third generation was silent for a long time, and he couldn't digest such a weird information. After a long time, the third generation said, You mean, you are teaching that person ninjutsu? Who is it? Chidori is your exclusive secret technique. How can you teach others easily? Currently, Kakashi is the only one in Konoha who has mastered Chidori. That was a ninjutsu developed by Kakashi himself. He didn't want to teach and couldn't force him. But Kakashi actually taught that person this ninjutsu, which is enough to show how important that person is to Kakashi. More importantly, since Kakashi taught that person ninjutsu, it also shows that that person is definitely not very old. Genius. The word suddenly appeared in the third generation's mind. Such a powerful person, still very young, the third generation knows that only geniuses can be like this. And the fact that this person can get the secret technique taught by Kakashi himself is enough to show that this person's character can be trusted. After all, even if Kakashi doesn't trust him very much, the third generation recognizes Kakashi's loyalty to the village. The third generation is a little excited. Currently, Konoha is in a period of transition. If there is he had already retired from the position that could have taken over his position. Originally, Kakashi was the candidate for the next Hokage that he had focused on training. It was also because of this that Kakashi became the guiding Jonin of Team 7. Because Naruto and Sasuke were the candidates for the next Hokage under the third Hokage. The inheritance of the position of Hokage was basically like this, and it was a secret that was not a secret. The top leaders basically knew about it, and it was also because of this that Danzo was so hostile to Naruto and Sasuke. In addition to the fact that Naruto was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and Sasuke was from the Uchiha clan, what actually concerned him the most was that the third Hokage regarded these two people as candidates for Hokage. Even if he trained two children, the third Hokage did not think about himself, so Danzo naturally looked down on Naruto and Sasuke. But whether it was Kakashi, Naruto or Sasuke, the third Hokage was actually not very satisfied. Kakashi's strength was very strong, and he could basically fight with ordinary Hokage-level players. But his deterrence is too low, far from reaching the level of Kage. He values Naruto and Sasuke very much, but both of them have problems. If Naruto still cannot control the Nine Tails and cannot become a perfect Jinchuriki, then he is destined to have no chance of becoming Hokage. If Sasuke becomes crazy like other ninjas of the Uchiha clan when he grows up, he will not be able to become Hokage. And when these two grow up, both possibilities are very high. The third generation knows very well that the Nine Tails is powerful and is not so easy to control. Sasuke has some personality problems now. If he becomes the same as Uchiha Madara when he grows up, he will definitely not be suitable to be Hokage. But these two are already the best two in this class. Although Naruto is the last in the ninja school, the third generation knows very well that only by becoming a ninja can his true potential be stimulated. But if there is a better person, the third generation will definitely be included in the selection. Kakashi looked at the serious look of the third generation, thought for a moment and said, "It's the same student." The originally serious third generation was stunned for a moment. "What did you say, the same student? Which one? Yamada Muki or Ben Yitianzi? Could it be Ben Yitianzi?" The reason why the third generation was so sure was that although Ben Yitianzi was not from a ninja family, her mother was a pure member of the Senju clan. It was very normal for Ben Yitianzi to inherit the genes of the Senju clan. After all, Namikaze Minato, a commoner, and Uzumaki Kushina's son, Naruto also inherited the Uzumaki clan genes of Uzumaki Kushina. Moreover, the level of ninjutsu just now requires extremely large amounts of chakra, and the amount of chakra of the Senju clan is also very large, which just meets the requirements. Chapter 30. It's just that the third generation mentioned two people but missed Yu. You can imagine how inconspicuous Yu is usually. Even the third generation, who pays great attention to the younger generation, is not familiar with him. Kakashi shook his head, neither. The third generation frowned. Isn't it Ben Yitianzi? Then could it be, the third child? The third generation couldn't even think of Yu's name. He could only use the third child as a substitute. Kakashi nodded. It's Yu. Yu, I really don't have any impression of this child. The third generation said helplessly. Kakashi was not surprised, and smiled bitterly. You are right that you don't have any impression. After all, the classmates who went to ninja school with him for 6 years are not very familiar with him. The third generation frowned. Said, "Come to the office with me." After that, the third generation disappeared. Kakashi followed. Soon, the two appeared in the office. The third generation took out the information of this class of students. In fact, there are not many people's information. There are only 30 students in this class, and only 12 of them passed the assessment and became genin. Originally, only 9 people should have passed the assessment, but the appearance of Yu allowed the 11th class to pass the assessment. In other words, in the original world, if there was no Yu, Yamada Shuki and Hun Yitianzi would not have been able to become ninjas. The reason why there are so few students graduating from each class of the ninja school is that many ninjas do not become ninjas through ninja schools. Many family ninjas are like this. As long as they pass the village's assessment, they can become ninjas without spending 6 years in ninja schools. The third generation quickly found the information of the 11th class. When EU's information was presented to the third generation, the third generation thought he had seen it wrong. This information is too sparse and ordinary. Are you really talking about this child? The third generation looked at Kakashi suspiciously. Kakashi nodded. It's him. He has been hiding his talent for 6 years in the ninja school. No one has discovered it. Why does he hide his talent? How can such a young child have such thoughts? The third generation was suspicious. Kakashi explained, this child is precocious in thinking, and his personality is also a little, how to say it, a little lazy. The image of Shikamaru instantly appeared in the third generation's mind. Lazy. Kakashi nodded. This child doesn't want to be disturbed by other students at school. He doesn't like the feeling of being noticed. I tried it, and he is telling the truth. Yidong also tried it. The third generation, who was still a little skeptical, now dispelled his doubts. Another problem child. The third generation was a little headache. Why do talented ninjas have all kinds of small problems? It's not easy to have a Namikaze Minato. There's only one in so many years. Namikaze Minato is the most normal and talented ninja that the third generation has seen so far. Others have more or less some problems. Where is he now? The third generation looked at Kakashi and asked. Kakashi thought for a moment and said, he's at home now. After releasing that ninjutsu, he fainted. Oh, what happened? The third generation asked. The ninjutsu released by EU should be an accident, so it drained all his chakra in one go. He's still unconscious now. The third generation was a little worried. Why didn't you take him to the hospital for a checkup? I checked it out. He fainted only because of excessive chakra consumption. He didn't have any injuries on his body. The third generation frowned and asked, how can a 12-year-old child have such a huge amount of chakra? This is what the third generation wanted to ask. Kakashi thought for a moment and said, his chakra is indeed very large, but the ninjutsu tonight should not rely on his own chakra. With his current chakra, although it is very strong, it is only at the level of a jonin. It is obviously unable to support the ninjutsu tonight. I think there may be a powerful force hidden in his body, but he himself does not know it. And his chakra is different from ordinary chakra. His chakra is the same as when Senior Jiraiya entered the Sage mode. The third generation was stunned for a moment. Could it be that he is born with a Sage body? The third generation was a little shocked. The third generation had seen Hashirama Senju and was his student. So the third generation knew very well that Hashirama Senju was born with a Sage body. This is a physique that is even more terrifying than the Sharingan. If he really has the natural body of a sage, then we have a chance to revive Konoha. The third generation knew very well that even in the Senju clan, only Senju Hashirama had the natural body of a sage. Kakashi had no idea about the natural body of a sage. Hokage, what is the natural body of a sage? The third generation thought about it and explained to Kakashi what the natural body of a sage is. The natural body of a sage means that you have the physique of a sage at birth. Such ninjas often have much more chakra than ordinary ninjas, and their vitality is far beyond that of ordinary people. And they are born to use senjutsu. The body is also full of senjutsu chakra. The first generation Hokage was a natural sage, and the first generation Hokage was called the God of Ninja, back then. The first generation Hokage's ninjutsu was also extremely destructive, and many ninjutsu could change the terrain. Only the ninjas of the Uchiha clan could compare with it back then. Every time these two fight, it's as terrifying as the collapse of the mountains and the cracking of the earth, the moving of mountains and the filling of the sea. Kakashi was stunned. Is there really such a person? Kakashi didn't quite believe it. After all, he had never met such a person. No, the ninjutsu released by EU tonight has already achieved this effect. The third generation sighed. Of course there is. The strength of these two people back then made the whole ninja world breathless. If our Konoha has another first generation of Hokage, it can at least keep our Konoha peaceful for decades. The third generation looked at Kakashi. How long have you been in contact with him? What do you think of his talent? To what extent? The third generation is looking forward to it. The reason why the third generation is not very afraid of Yu is that Yu is a commoner and does not have a sick clan member like the Uchiha clan behind him. Kakashi thought for a while and said, I have only been in contact with him for a few days. Quote. He had only learned a few ninjutsu in the ninja school before, and was no different from other ninja graduates. Before I taught him, Chidori, he only knew the three-body technique and the use of ninja tools. After that, I taught him how to tread water and climb trees. He learned very quickly and learned it just by watching it once. Tonight is the first day I formally teach him ninjutsu. If this accident hadn't happened, he would have learned it. And he has chakra of all attributes. The third generation was stunned for a moment. He has chakra of all attributes. Quote. Kakashi nodded. Chapter 31. The third generation was somewhat shocked. He actually possesses chakra of all attributes. This talent is ridiculously strong. And he can even learn a ninjutsu like Chidori in one go. His learning ability is also very strong. The amount of chakra is also very large. It seems that he really has the potential to catch up with the first generation. Although Kakashi didn't know how powerful the first generation of Hokage was, seeing that the third generation actually praised him so much, he must be very powerful. He may even be much stronger than the third generation. After all, the third generation said that the ninjutsu of the first generation of Hokage can change the terrain. In Kakashi's impression, only the tailed beasts have this ability. The third generation is actually the most shocking one. He is most optimistic about Naruto and Sasuke. It is precisely because of this that Kakashi became the guiding ninja of the two. Unexpectedly, Konoha still hides a ninja who may reach the same level as the first generation of Hokage. In the eyes of the third generation, Konoha's revival may be coming soon. Seeing the calm face of the third Hokage, Kakashi was a little worried. Hokage-sama, I think that before Yu has the ability to protect himself, he should not be put in people's sight. Kakashi is worried that other villages, or even people inside the village, will attack Yu. Even though the ninja world is generally peaceful now, Kakashi has experienced the Third Ninja World War and knows very well that other ninja villages will never be willing to let a ninja who threatens them appear in Konoha. Not to mention that in Kakashi's mind, Yu may reach the level of the fourth Hokage in the future. The fourth Hokage alone was enough to intimidate other ninja villages. If they knew about Yu's existence, they would definitely do whatever it takes to get rid of Yu. This is what Kakashi doesn't want to see. And there will be people in the village who want to get rid of Yu. For example, Danzo, this person will never allow someone who may threaten the village in the future to appear. In Kakashi's view, Danzo just doesn't want someone who can compete with him for the position of Hokage to appear in the village. The third generation knew, so he nodded. I know your concerns. I'll leave Yu to you. I hope you can make him the trunk that supports Konoha in the future. Also, find out what the power in Yu is. Help him control that power. The third generation did not intend to teach Yu in person. If he taught Yu in person, it would be almost equivalent to telling others that Yu was special. Hearing the third generation's arrangement, Kakashi was relieved. He was just worried that the third generation would transfer Yu to his side, and if so, Yu's situation would be very dangerous. Even if the third generation did not harm him, Danzo would not let him have an easy time. Okay, go and see how he is now. I have to deal with the follow-up impact of this matter. After Kakashi came out of the Hokage building, he went straight to Yu's house. After Kakashi left, the third generation stood by the window, looking at the night of Konoha. Thinking of 12 years ago. I don't know whether that child will become the first generation or Uchiha Madara in the future. If he becomes Uchiha Madara, there is no first generation Hokage in this era to check him. Although the third generation values Iyu's talent. But if Iyu really has the strength of Senju Hashirama in the future, no one in Konoha village can check him. If Iyu becomes someone like Uchiha Madara, Konoha village will also be very dangerous. This is really a gamble. The third generation looked solemn. After all, he didn't know what Iyu's future would be like. Whether it was good or bad, it was often just a matter of thought. Kakashi, I hope your vision is correct. Naruto, Sasuke, will you be as strong as him in the future? The third generation has high expectations for Naruto and Sasuke. In the future, Naruto will completely control the Nine Tails and become a perfect Jinchuriki, and Sasuke will open the Mangekyo Sharingan and possess the godlike power. You two may be able to check and balance him. Or, when you two have problems, Yu can check and balance you. The third generation, who was originally a little worried about Iyu's future, was no longer so worried when he thought of Naruto and Sasuke. In his opinion, Naruto and Sasuke both have great potential. In the future, Naruto and Sasuke will form a powerful combination, which may not be without the strength to check and balance Iyu. The third generation knows very well how great the potential of the Nine Tails and the Sharingan is. Kakashi came to Iyu's home. At this time, Iyu was still unconscious. But his vital signs were normal. Kakashi stood by the bed, looking at the sleeping Iyu, and sighed. I told the third generation about you, I hope you don't blame me when you wake up. The third generation has already seen it. If I hide it again, he will only doubt whether your existence will threaten Konoha. Kakashi is helpless. He originally wanted to conceal Iyu's affairs. Who knew that what would happen tonight would happen? Kakashi still felt a lingering fear when he thought of the commotion Iyu caused today. Looking at Iyu's slightly immature face, I really don't know how you can have such a terrifying amount of chakra at your age. Such a ninjutsu is comparable to the tailed beast ball, and Chidori can't cause such damage. But in the end, it was like a lightning ninjutsu like Chidori. Although such lightning is far beyond the lightning in nature, it may be the energy that a fairy technique should have. Kakashi felt that the thunder caused by Iyu might be because the chakra used by Iyu was fairy chakra. And fairy chakra is inherently more powerful than ordinary chakra energy. Kakashi stood by the bed and guarded Iyu, whose consciousness was completely immersed in the consciousness space at this time. Iyu himself was also puzzled by the situation created tonight. Your chakra volume has doubled, and your speed has doubled. In the consciousness space, Iyu only heard that his chakra and speed had increased. There was no explanation for why the situation just now happened. Iyu thought for a while, maybe it's because of my chakra. I output too much chakra. After all, my chakra is different from ordinary chakra. It's pure natural energy. It's completely controllable in my body, but it will go out of control if it overflows from my body. Iyu guessed. He actually guessed it right. The reason why Iyu made the noise tonight was that he output too much chakra, causing the natural energy in the surrounding environment to go out of control. The natural energy in Iyu's body has a self-protection mechanism. When he senses the danger around that threatens Iyu's life, he instantly absorbs the surrounding natural energy to create an energy shield for him to protect him from the bombardment of lightning. In addition, all the lightning was created by Iyu, and he has a certain consciousness. When the energy exploded, most of the energy did not bombard Iyu. It was precisely because of this that everything around Iyu was in trouble. Most of the energy of the thunder was released towards the ground around Iyu. Chapter 32. What Iyu didn't know was that the chakra in his body was completely natural energy, which was bound to his consciousness. His chakra was conscious. But now he didn't understand these, so he couldn't control it well. However, tonight, the chakra and speed doubled again, and Iyu was still very happy. Now my chakra has reached Kakashi's level. The speed is a little slower, but it won't be long before I can match him. The chakra in my body is different from ordinary chakra. I have to figure out what's going on with the chakra in my body. If I can't control the skyrocketing chakra, it's useless to increase it. Yu didn't want what happened tonight to happen again. I don't know how the village will react if I make such a big noise. Isn't it possible that I'm in Konoha's cell now? Yu thought to himself. He is still in a coma, and his consciousness is not aware of the situation outside. After a long time, Yu's consciousness also fell asleep. He slept until the next morning. The moment he regained consciousness, he opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Kakashi leaning on the windowsill, reading a novel. Yu sat up, looked at Kakashi and asked, "Teacher Kakashi, did the ninjas in the village find out last night?" This is what Yu cares about most. Kakashi looked at Yu and smiled. "How did you wake up so quickly? I thought you would lie down for a few days." Kakashi was a little surprised, because Yu's chakra was exhausted last night. For ninjas, this situation is very dangerous. In better cases, they will lie down for a few days, and in severe cases, they may even die. Yu rubbed his head and said, "I feel a little dizzy." "What happened last night? Don't you remember what happened last night?" Kakashi asked puzzledly. Yu shook his head. "I only remember that I just gathered chakra, and when I was about to condense, Chidori, the chakra became disordered, and then I lost consciousness." Kakashi frowned. "Even you don't remember, you released a ninjutsu comparable to the power of the tailed beast ball last night." Yu was stunned. Tailed beast ball. Seeing Yu stunned, Kakashi thought Yu didn't know what the tailed beast ball was. So he explained to him. The tailed beast ball is a ball of chakra condensed by the tailed beast. The power of the tailed beast ball is extremely strong, and one shot can blow up a mountain. The ninjutsu you released last night is about the same power as the tailed beast ball. Fortunately, we were practicing in the back mountain yesterday. If you released this ninjutsu in the residential area of the village, you would not be sitting here talking to me now. Yu was shocked. Is it so exaggerated? My chakra should not be enough to release such a terrifying ninjutsu, right? Although Yu knew that he had caused a shocking movement, it was not comparable to the tailed beast ball. After all, the tailed beast ball is a real map cannon. And Yu felt that with his chakra amount not as good as Kakashi's, he would never be able to release such a powerful ninjutsu. Kakashi walked up to Yu, looked at him for a while, and then said, "There should be a power hidden in your body that you don't even know about. The ninjutsu you released yesterday should be the power in your body that was activated." Yu was stunned. There is a power hidden in his body. How could he not know? Maybe it's because my chakra is different from ordinary people's. This time it was Kakashi who was a little surprised. "Do you know that your chakra is different from others?" He knew that Yu's chakra was special because he had the Sharingan. But how did Yu know that his chakra was different from others? Yu looked up at Kakashi and said calmly, "I have always known that the quality of my chakra is much stronger than that of ordinary people. It's just that I didn't know ninjutsu before, so I couldn't feel the specific difference." Kakashi sighed. "I thought you didn't know." Yu smiled. "My perception of chakra is also stronger than that of ordinary people. So I can feel the difference. I used the Sharingan to see the chakra in your body before. The chakra in your body should be Senjutsu chakra. I have seen Jiraiya's chakra. When he enters the sage mode, the chakra in his body will become the same as your chakra. That is Senjutsu chakra. What I find surprising is that you should not have learned Senjutsu, and it is even more impossible for you to be in Senjutsu mode. Yesterday I told the third generation of fire about you. Hokage, Lord Hokage told me that your physique may be the same as that of the first Hokage, and you are born with a sage body." Hearing that Kakashi actually told the third Hokage about his own affairs, Yu frowned. Looked at Kakashi with a puzzled look. He originally thought that Kakashi was a trustworthy person. Unexpectedly, he would disappoint him. Seeing that Yu had misunderstood, Kakashi explained some of the situation yesterday to Yu. In that case, if I didn't tell you, you would be in more danger. But fortunately, Lord Hokage didn't regard you as a threat, and asked me to teach you in the future. Yu looked solemn. But thinking that he had no ambitions in the first place, no matter what the third generation did, he would not surrender. Thinking of this, Yu stopped worrying about it. Kakashi kept staring at Yu. When Yu looked solemn at first and showed distrust of him, Kakashi felt ashamed. But Yu quickly regained his composure, and Kakashi admired him very much. He knew that Yu had figured it out. When he was Yu's age, he could not have figured out such an important thing in a blink of an eye. At least in terms of character, Kakashi felt that he was not as good as Yu. After figuring it out, Yu looked at Kakashi and asked, "Teacher Kakashi, go back and rest first. You must not have rested yesterday." Yu was still moved. Kakashi could protect him all night. Knowing that Yu did not blame him, Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay. For a ninja, it's not a problem to not sleep for one night. But Yu still said, "You should go and rest. I don't have any mission today. I want to stay at home to figure out what's going on with my chakra." Kakashi came over and asked, "The power in your body may be very strong, and it may be difficult to control." Yu nodded. "I can understand this. I lost control last night. I obviously condensed the Chidori, but when I was about to launch an attack, the chakra ran away. But I think I can control that power. It was just that I didn't control the chakra enough yesterday, which caused the chakra to run away." Chapter 33. Although Kakashi wanted to chat with Yu for a while, he thought that Yu needed to rest now, so he said, "Then you should have a good rest. When you are well rested, you can practice again." Yu nodded. Kakashi disappeared in the room without saying anything else. Yu breathed a sigh of relief after he could no longer sense Kakashi's chakra. Looking at his hands, Yu frowned. What's going on? Under such precise control, it can still go out of control. This chakra in my body is really a bit weird. After a while, Yu slowly condensed the chakra on his hands. Soon, the chakra materialized and condensed in Yu's hands. Unlike the previous blue, Yu's chakra was actually golden at this time. This discovery surprised Yu even more. My chakra is indeed different from others. Is this the Senjutsu chakra that Kakashi mentioned? It's just that Senjutsu chakra seems to be blue as well. And this thick feeling seems to be much stronger than ordinary chakra. Yu was a little unfamiliar with the chakra in his body. And I should have very good control over chakra. Why did it go berserk last night? Yu really couldn't figure it out. My system is too mechanical. I can't even ask. It seems that I can only figure it out by myself. After Kakashi came out of Yu's house, he went to find Mubentangi. When Mubentangi heard that the noise last night was made by Yu, he was stunned. Did Yu really do it? Mubentangi didn't quite believe it. Although he knew that Yu had excellent talent, he couldn't even make the noise like yesterday. No matter how strong Yu was, he definitely couldn't create a destruction comparable to the explosion of the tailed beast ball. Kakashi just nodded and confirmed the matter. Mumoto Tangi couldn't calm down. What's going on with Yu? This matter really exceeded Mumoto Tangi's imagination. He thought that the noise last night was caused by Naruto's rampage. Although the third generation said that the Anbu was experimenting with ninjutsu last night. But the senior ninjas in Konoha village basically knew the general situation last night. But almost all the senior ninjas thought that the Nine Tails had gone berserk. The third generation blocked the news just to protect Naruto. After all, the Jinchuriki was already hated by the people in the village. If the villagers knew that the noise last night was caused by Naruto's rampage, then the villagers might do something bad to Naruto. Every Jinchuriki has suffered this kind of thing. For example, Killer Bee, He was even assassinated by people from the same village. Compared with Killer Bee, Naruto's treatment is actually much better. After all, no one threw eggs at Naruto, and no one tried to assassinate him. At most, they would just alienate him. You know, during the Nine Tails Rebellion, many villagers, relatives were killed by the Nine Tails. And Naruto is the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. In a sense, Naruto is the Nine Tails, which is equivalent to their enemy. Even in this situation, Naruto has no shortage of friends. Shikamaru, Choji, Shino and Kiba are still the kind of bad friends who can follow Naruto to skip classes. There are even handmade ramen shops in Ichiraku Ramen and Ayame who have no hostility towards Naruto. It can be said that compared to Killer Bee, Naruto's treatment is no different from that of normal people. But if the villagers knew that Naruto went berserk, even if the third generation favored Naruto, I'm afraid the villagers would not be able to accommodate Naruto. Who would be willing to get close to you if there is a bomb that may explode at any time? I'm afraid they will ask the third generation to lock Naruto up. At that time, even if the villagers knew that Naruto was the son of the fourth generation Hokage, it would be useless. Minato Namikaze had only been Hokage for a few years, and his status in the hearts of the villagers was not very high, even though he was a hero who saved the village. But no matter how heroic your son is, he is a terrifying killer who can go berserk at any time and kill countless people one day. In this case, even if Naruto is the son of a hero, no one is willing to gamble their lives. So the senior ninjas of Konoha all thought that the third generation deliberately blocked the news to prevent the villagers from being unstable after knowing it. Who knew that the person who made such a big commotion yesterday was his own disciple? Miyamoto Tangi's brain did not react for a while. At the same time, Miyamoto Tangi was very flustered. Who knows this news? Miyamoto Tangi was most worried that Yu would be known by others. At that time, Yu would definitely not be treated much better than Naruto. Kakashi hesitated and said, "Only the third generation and I know about this matter." Miyamoto Tangi raised his head and stared at Kakashi. "You tell the third Hokage." Kumoto Tangi was furious. The third Hokage knew what would happen to Yu, and he knew it very well. Kumoto Tangi almost attacked Kakashi. Kakashi quickly explained, "Don't worry, the third Hokage didn't take him away, and the third Hokage is also optimistic about him, you don't have to be so nervous." But Kimoto Tangi was not so easily convinced. "You know very well how unreliable the third Hokage's promise is. Kumoto Tangi is an Anbu, and he has come into contact with many Anbu in Konoha." Kakashi said helplessly, "In the situation yesterday, do you think it would be good or bad for Yu if I continued to conceal it? If I didn't say it at that time, when the third Hokage found out himself, Yu would probably have to live under the surveillance of the Anbu for the rest of his life. Now the only way is to let Yu master the power in his body as soon as possible so that he can protect himself. Let the third Hokage see his value. Only in this way can he live in the sunshine." Kakashi was also a little excited. He is usually very calm, but when it comes to Yu, his emotions will change greatly. Miyamoto Tangi was silent. He knew that Kakashi was right. If the third Hokage is really found, Yu will be easily found out. At that time, Yu will be regarded as a threat to Konoha. Even if he is not locked up, he will be monitored by the Anbu all the time. At that time, if Yu moves a little, the Anbu will take action. After a long time, Miyamoto Tangi raised his head and asked, "What kind of power is in Yu's body? Why is it so terrifying?" Kimoto Doji saw what happened yesterday. That terrifying power is comparable to the power of the tailed beast ball released by the Nine Tails during the Nine Tails Rebellion. Fortunately, it was in the back mountain. If it was in Konoha village, the main residential area of the entire village would probably be razed to the ground. This is not an exaggeration. The center of the explosion caused by Yu was a deep pit of hundreds of meters. The affected area reached several kilometers away. Within several kilometers around the deep pit, many trees, flowers, soil and rocks were all blasted into ashes. This kind of terrifying power can only be achieved by the tailed beast ball. It is precisely because of this that when the explosion occurred yesterday, many senior ninjas believed that the 9 tails had gone berserk and the explosion was caused by the tailed beast ball. Chapter 34. Kakashi said, the power in Yu's body should be Senjutsu chakra. When Master Jiraiya entered Sage mode, he also had that kind of chakra in his body. Senjutsu chakra is much more powerful than ordinary chakra. It's just that Yu has never learned Senjutsu. The third Hokage said that Yu might be born with a sage body, and the chakra in his body is Senjutsu chakra. Plus, Yu's chakra is huge. With the blessing of Senjutsu chakra, draining all the Senjutsu chakra in Yu's body should be able to create such a large-scale ninjutsu. In fact, Kakashi also thought this was ridiculous. He had seen Jiraiya's sage mode. Although it was indeed very powerful, no ninjutsu had a range as large as the one Yu released last night. Not to mention that Yu's ninjutsu directly destroyed everything within a few kilometers of the explosion center. Obviously, the damage caused by Yu last night was far greater than Jiraiya's. But apart from this explanation, Kakashi didn't know how to explain the terrifying power that Yu released last night. Mubentongi had not seen the process of Yu releasing ninjutsu on the spot, so he believed Kakashi's words. That kind of power is already the power of the tailed beast. If Yu masters that power, he will have power that is not inferior to the tailed beast, right? Mubentongi looked at Kakashi. Kakashi frowned. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Yu can't control that power yet, and he doesn't even know the specific situation of that power. But fortunately, although Yu's power will run wild, Yu is always awake. It's not like the Jinchuriki, who will completely lose consciousness after running wild and be completely controlled by the tailed beast. So I think the power in Yu's body is just a huge chakra hidden in his body. As long as Yu keeps practicing, he will definitely be able to master that chakra. But I'm afraid it won't be done in a short time. I will help him. At the end, Kakashi said seriously. Miyamoto Yidong breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. It's good that the power is different from the tailed beasts. I'm just worried that the power in his body will be the same as the tailed beasts and take over his body. Kakashi shook his head. No, it's just that Yu couldn't control the power, causing the power to run away. And what makes me unbelievable is that Yu, who was at the center of the explosion, survived intact, without even a single injury. Even after his chakra was exhausted, he just slept for a night and recovered completely. Such a strong recovery ability is comparable to Naruto. No, even Naruto may not have such a strong recovery ability. Kakashi sighed. He thought a lot while watching over Yu all night last night. These are all what he thought of last night. So I think the power in Yu's body may be brought by the natural sage body mentioned by the third Hokage. The third Hokage also said that the first Hokage who had a natural sage body had a very strong recovery ability. It is so strong that even if the body is pierced, it can recover as usual in a short time. Mubentongi listened to all this and felt like he was listening to a myth. This is no longer human, it sounds like divine art. Kakashi sighed. I was also shocked when I heard it. But the third Hokage experienced the era of the first Hokage, and the first Hokage he described was indeed almost like a god. The first Hokage also had a huge amount of chakra. In the war, he often released ninjutsu comparable to the tailed beast ball. It is hard to imagine how other ninjas felt in the era of the first Hokage. The third Hokage said that Yu might have the same power as the first Hokage in the future. Kimoto Yidong looked solemn. With such potential, wouldn't the third Hokage be afraid of Yu? This is what Kimoto Yidong is most concerned about. The more powerful Yu is, the greater the damage he will cause if he threatens Konoha in the future. Doesn't the third Hokage have any concerns? Kakashi shook his head. I can only hope that the third Hokage will not have such an idea, and Yu will always be loyal to Konoha in the future. As his teacher, it is our responsibility to prevent him from going on the path of opposing Konoha. But I think you can rest assured about this. Yu is different from others. He is very calm and will not be easily fooled. Miyamoto Tangi smiled. That's right, it's basically impossible for others to fool that kid. And he is very rational. He will not have a bad impression of Konoha just because he saw one or two dark things in Konoha. Ninjas in the ninja world are too emotional. Few people look at problems calmly and rationally. Many ninjas will doubt the village because of some dark things they saw in the village. But Yu will not. He is very rational. Even Kimoto Tangi and Kakashi have talked to Yu about these things. Yu behaved very maturely. He even understood the existence of such things. In fact, as the most important military organization of a country, a ninja village cannot only have things under the sun. There will be many dark and dirty things. But dark and dirty things are often necessary to maintain a peaceful and stable life for most people. Kimoto Tangi said. After all, his teachers are two ninjas from the Anbu. Kakashi nodded. Of course, for Naruto and others, Kakashi will not let them come into contact with darkness. After all, their thinking is indeed too immature. If they know it in advance, it will be easy for them to collapse. Similarly, Kimoto Ichido would not let Yamada Shuki and Ben Yediko contact those things. Kakashi stayed with Kimoto Ichido for a while and then left. Today he will take Naruto and the others to take the mission. Soon, the four of them came to the front of the Hokage building to gather. In front of the Hokage building, Kakashi was late, and Naruto and the other two accused him. Teacher Kakashi, you are late again. Kakashi looked at Naruto and sighed. Seeing Naruto made him come back to his senses and know that he was teaching three students who had just graduated from the ninja school. Yu usually behaved too maturely, which made him ignore Yu's age and forget the age gap between him and Yu. Kakashi explained casually, "Oh, sorry, I met an old lady crossing the road on the road." Seeing Kakashi talking nonsense as usual, the corners of the three people's mouths twitched slightly. Naruto was speechless and said, "Teacher Kakashi, you have so many excuses." Kakashi waved his hand and said, "Okay, let's go get the mission anyway." The four of them walked towards the Hokage building. Sakura walked to Sasuke and said with a smile, "Sasuke, did you see that explosion last night?" Chapter 35. After Sakura finished speaking, Sasuke frowned and nodded solemnly. Naruto on the other side came over with a confused look on his face and asked, What explosion?" Naruto slept soundly last night, and the explosion didn't wake him up at all. Sakura gave him a blank look. Then she looked at Sasuke expectantly. Although Sasuke was usually very cold, he did notice the explosion yesterday. And the explosion last night was unusual. Sasuke had never seen such a terrifying explosion, and he almost thought that another village had broken in. "I don't know, but even a Jonin couldn't do the explosion yesterday." Sakura was stunned for a moment. She only knew that the big explosion last night was very loud. She had never thought about these things at all. Can't a Jonin do it? Can't Kakashi do it? Sakura looked at Kakashi. Naruto walked beside him, scratching his head. He wanted to interrupt, but he didn't know what happened last night. Sasuke also looked at Kakashi. Kakashi didn't say anything as if he didn't see it. "Teacher Kakashi, you should have known last night, right? You shouldn't be able to do it, right?" Under the gaze of Sasuke and the other two, Kakashi shook his head. "I can't do it either, but the explosion last night was the relevant departments of the village testing new ninjutsu, so there's no need for you to guess." Sasuke listened and thought about it. But he didn't say anything else. He could feel that what Kakashi said was probably not true. But this was after all the business of the village's top leaders, and Sasuke didn't want to ask in detail. Sakura saw that Sasuke didn't ask, so she didn't say anything else. Naruto was always confused. He didn't know what happened at all. The four came to the Hokage's office. Seeing that it was Kakashi's class, the third Hokage looked at Kakashi. Kakashi nodded slightly. Both of them knew what it meant. As soon as Naruto arrived at the Hokage's office, he ran to the third Hokage and complained, "Old Hokage, stop assigning us those troublesome and low-level tasks." The third Hokage looked at Naruto and sighed, "You are just an apprentice ninja who just graduated from the ninja school. You should slowly accumulate experience from low-level tasks. And you have just become a genin, and you can only do D-level tasks at most." Naruto shook his head and said, "But those D-level tasks are too boring. I want to do higher-level tasks." Although the third Hokage was right, Naruto really didn't want to do D-level tasks, so he could only cheat. On the other side, although Sakura and Sasuke didn't say anything, their inner thoughts were actually the same as Naruto's. They didn't hesitate to do low-level tasks. Kakashi thought helplessly, "I knew he would cheat." At this time, he thought of Yu. "I don't know how that kid is doing now. His chakra was drained yesterday. He woke up after only one night's rest. I don't know if there are any sequelae." At this moment, Kakashi's thoughts were already wandering. Seeing Naruto's soft and hard begging, the third generation had no choice. He could only compromise and said, "Okay, I know, I'll give you a C-level mission." Naruto, who was originally sitting on the ground with his back to the third generation of Hokage, jumped up when he heard this. "Really? What is the mission?" Looking at Naruto's expectant look, the third generation smiled and said, "To protect someone." When he heard that it was a guard mission, Naruto instantly said whimsically, "Protect who? Is it the daimyo, or the princess?" Kakashi looked at Naruto's expectant look and was a little speechless. How could protecting the daimyo be just a C-level mission? Although Sasuke and Sakura would not be as whimsical as Naruto, they were also looking forward to it. They didn't want to do those cat-catching and dog-catching missions again. The third generation did not answer Naruto's question, but said to the outside of the door, "Please come in." For a moment, the four looked at the door. After a while, the door was opened. An old man holding a bottle of wine came in, leaned against the door and looked at the people in front of him. He took a sip of wine and said dissatisfiedly, "Why are there a few little ghosts, especially the shortest boy, who looks super stupid? Are you really a ninja?" Listening to the old man's words, Naruto laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, who are you talking about, the shortest, the stupidest?" As he spoke, Sakura and Sasuke walked behind Naruto silently. After a comparison, the smile on Naruto's face froze instantly. "Asshole, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? You said the stupidest, you stinky old man, I'm going to kill you, asshole." Naruto was about to pounce on him with his teeth and claws, was held down by Kakashi on the side. "Are you going to kill the people we are protecting? Idiot." Ignoring Naruto's shouting, the old man said, "I am the super celebrity who built the bridge, and Dasna is talking about me. During the time when I finish building the bridge, you must protect me seriously." Naruto didn't like Dasna very much, and turned his head away with his hands folded in frustration, not wanting to see him. Sakura and Sasuke heard that it was a guard mission, and it was a mission outside the village, and they were a little excited. This was considered their mission to officially become ninjas. But Kakashi frowned. A mission outside the village. He was a little worried. He was not worried that it would be dangerous to go out of the village to do the mission, but that he was not in the village, and Yu would be in danger. After all, who knows if the third Hokage is really the same as he promised last night? What if the third Hokage uses this mission to transfer him out of the village and then attack Yu? Can Kimoto Tangi stop it? Obviously it is impossible. Although Kimoto Tangi is also a Jonin from the Anbu. But his status in Konoha is far from comparable to Kakashi. The third generation still values Kakashi very much. And Kakashi is indeed the strongest Jonin in Konoha village at present. Tsunade and Jiraiya are not in the village. Under normal circumstances, Kai is definitely not Kakashi's opponent. So among the Jonin in Konoha village, Kakashi is the only one who is valued by the third generation. With Kakashi protecting EU, the third generation will abide by what he said. But if Kakashi is not there, it is hard to say whether the third generation will be forced to give up EU by people like Danzo. Seeing Kakashi's complicated expression, the third generation knew what he was thinking. So he said, Kakashi, this mission will let Naruto and others take a good look outside the village and see more of the outside world. You are their teacher, and this is your responsibility. Kakashi frowned. The third generation is warning him. Let him not forget his current responsibilities. But the more the third generation acted like this, the more worried he became. Naruto, who was standing by, heard what the third generation said and said with a grin, "Ha ha ha, old man, I will definitely complete this mission perfectly and let you know how powerful I am." Kakashi did not speak. Just as they were about to leave, Kakashi could not help it. He looked at the third generation and said, "Hokage-sama, this mission requires us to go out of the village to carry out the mission. I want to take Jingwen Yayu with me to carry out this mission. Kimoto Jonin asked me to take his students with me when I go out to carry out the mission." Chapter 36. Hearing Kakashi's request, the Sandai looked slightly stiff and didn't speak for a long time. The atmosphere in the whole office became extremely cold. But except Kakashi and the Sandai, no one knew what happened. And they didn't dare to speak. Even Naruto felt this oppressive atmosphere at this time. Sasuke looked at Kakashi thoughtfully. After a long time, the Sandai took a puff of cigarette and said slowly, "In this case, your team will have 4 people. It's just one more person," Kakashi said without giving in. "Kakashi, if anything happens to him, you will be responsible," the Sandai said in a serious tone. Kakashi did not give up. "I will be responsible." But unexpectedly, the Sandai, who had a serious face, smiled and said, "It seems that Yu is a very lucky kid." In fact, the Sandai was just testing how good the relationship between Kakashi and Yu was. To his surprise, Kakashi, who had always been extremely aloof, actually protected Yu to such an extent. He almost had a direct conflict with him. He did not feel threatened, but was very happy. He knew Kakashi very well. Since Kakashi valued someone so much, there would definitely be no problem. Kakashi looked at the Sandai, who nodded. "It seems that your mission reward will have to be shared by one more person." Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Lord Hokage." The Sandai nodded. "Go and call him up." Kakashi nodded to the Sandai, and left with Naruto and the other 2. After Kakashi and the others left, Iruka dared to ask, "Lord Hokage, the Jingwen Yu that Kakashi Jonin just mentioned, could it be the Yu who graduated this year?" The Sandai nodded. Iruka was very confused. Yu should not have caused the 2 of them to have the tense atmosphere just now. That kind of atmosphere was the first time Iruka encountered it. Moreover, one was the strongest Jonin in the village, and the other was the Hokage, the person with the highest status in Konoha. Kakashi used to give him a very mature and rational feeling. How could he confront the third generation to such an extent? What did Yu do to cause such a confrontation between Kakashi and the third generation? "Hokage-sama, what did Yu do that you don't seem to be satisfied with him?" The third generation glanced at Iruka. "I'm not dissatisfied with him." Iruka didn't say anything, but his eyes showed his disbelief. The third generation didn't continue to explain. Seeing that the third generation didn't explain, Iruka asked tentatively, "Isn't Yu the same Jonin mentor as Motoki? Why did the Jonin Kakashi ask to take him with him?" The third generation replied lightly, "Iruka, you don't need to delve into this matter." Looking at the expression of the third generation, Iruka didn't dare to ask even if he wanted to. After coming out of the Hokage building, Naruto couldn't help it. "Teacher Kakashi, why did you almost fight with the old Hokage just now?" Naruto's words made Sakura and Sasuke agree very much. they all wanted to know. In the atmosphere just now, they didn't dare to ask. And Sasuke felt that Yu might not be that simple. Kakashi looked at Naruto and didn't intend to tell him. He just said, "You saw it wrong." Naruto pouted. "Teacher Kakashi, do you think I'm stupid? In the atmosphere just now, you were about to fight, and you said I saw it wrong. And why did you take Yu with you? You are the teacher of our class." Naruto was a little unhappy. After all, Yu was not in the same class as them. Kakashi deliberately asked Yu to come over, making it seem as if Kakashi didn't trust their abilities. Sasuke didn't think so. He felt that Yu should not be so mediocre, and Kakashi knew Yu's background. The most important thing is that Kakashi may have a special relationship with Yu. Otherwise, how could Kakashi fight against the third generation for Yu? It made him feel a little jealous. After all, Kakashi was their guiding Jonin. He had just fought against the third generation for a ninja from another class. Sasuke felt that he and others might not be as important as Yu in Kakashi's heart. When Sasuke never thought about revenge, he was actually just a somewhat arrogant boy. After hearing what Naruto said, Kakashi thought for a while and said, "Yu also worshipped me as his master, and he is also my student." Hearing this, Naruto and the other two were stunned. What? Yu worshipped you as his master? The three of them couldn't believe it. Although they all disliked Kakashi, it was just words. In fact, in the training field, when they tested them, they had already recognized Kakashi's strength. And these days, after listening to Shikamaru and the others' introduction, the three of them also knew that Kakashi was still one of the most powerful Jonin in Konoha village. For this reason, although the three of them did not say it, they actually felt very proud. But now Kakashi actually said that Yu also worshipped him as a teacher. And judging from how much Kakashi values Yu, maybe Kakashi also taught Yu many ninjutsu. When they thought of this, the three of them felt a little unbalanced. Naruto even shouted directly, "Ah, Yu is too treacherous, Kakashi teacher, you must have taught him a lot of ninjutsu. You haven't taught us any ninjutsu yet, damn it." Although Sakura and Sasuke didn't say anything, they looked a little unhappy. Kakashi, however, had a calm face and said lightly, "I didn't teach him any ninjutsu. I met him much later than you." But the three of them didn't believe it. Naruto snorted coldly, "Humph, Kakashi-sensei, you are lying to us again." Kakashi didn't want to explain, but just said, "I can't help it if you don't believe me." As they talked, they came to Yu's house. This was the first time that Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke came to Yu's house. At this time, Yu was studying his chakra at home. The sudden appearance of Kakashi and others made Yu very confused. Kakashi patted Yu's shoulder. "We received AC level mission and we have to leave the village. The Hokage and I applied to take you with us to go out for some experience." Yu frowned. "Leaving the village?" Kakashi nodded. Naruto came over and smiled. "This time we have received the mission of escort." It was the first time that Sakura looked at Yu seriously. She was very surprised. This guy is really as good looking as Sasuke. Why haven't I paid attention to him before? Of course, Sakura's idea was just out of appreciation for good-looking boys. It's not that she just fell in love with Yu. After all, no one can change her feelings for Sasuke. If it weren't for Shikamaru and the others' instigation, Sakura wouldn't have confessed to Naruto. Sakura has always made it clear that she likes Sasuke. So it's basically impossible for her to like someone else. Sasuke has also been looking at Yu. He wants to see what's different about Yu. But after looking at him for a long time, he can't see anything at all. Apart from being as handsome as him, there's nothing special about him. Chapter 37. Before Yu answered, Naruto pulled Yu out. "What are you thinking about? Let's go quickly. This is AC level mission. How long will it take for you to stay in the village before you can take AC level mission?" Although Kakashi's appreciation of Yu made Naruto jealous. But he didn't hate Yu. After all, Yu was one of the few people who didn't show his dislike for him before. When Yu was pulled out of the house, he turned his head and looked at Kakashi. He wondered why Kakashi asked him to go out on the mission so suddenly. You know, Kakashi said that he would take him out only after he had the strength of a Jonin. He didn't believe that Kakashi broke the contract for no reason. Yu wanted to know what was going on, and Naruto told him directly on the way. After listening to Naruto's story about what happened in the Hokage building, Yu also understood why Kakashi took him with him. After knowing the reason for the matter, Yu was not confused, and he naturally would not refuse Kakashi's kindness. Arriving at the gate of Konoha village, Dasna saw Yu and smiled. This is a ninja, not like this silly boy. The boy Dasna was talking about was Naruto. Naruto gritted his teeth and stared at Dasna, but when he thought that Dasna was the target of their protection, he was not the same as when he was in the Hokage's office. The few people were very quiet along the way, only Naruto was chattering. Sasuke's eyes were already on Yu, and Sakura was also curious about Yu. What Sasuke wanted to know was how strong Yu was. He knew Kakashi's strength very well, and Yu, who was so valued by Kakashi, could not be weak. But how strong he was, he wanted to know. After walking for a long time, they passed a forest. Seeing two puddles in front, Yu looked at Kakashi. Kakashi shook his head. Indicated him not to act rashly. Yu actually forgot the plot of the Land of Waves a long time ago. But he felt the chakra fluctuations in the two puddles, and it was obvious that there were two ninjas hiding here. Moreover, it was a sunny day, the sun was very hot, the ground around was dry, but the water in the two puddles did not seem to be evaporated at all. It was very abrupt. Kakashi and Yu found it, but they passed by the puddles calmly as if nothing had happened. They walked a dozen steps away from the puddles, and suddenly two ninjas in the puddles jumped out. Swish! Only the sound of chains colliding was heard, and several chain blades entangled Kakashi. When Yu and the others turned their heads to look over, Kakashi's body had been cut into pieces, countless flesh and blood fell to the ground, and the blood stained the ground red. This horrific scene stunned the inexperienced people. Even Yu, seeing this bloody scene at this time, was shocked. This was the first time he saw such a bloody scene. Even though he knew that Kakashi used the substitute technique to avoid it. But seeing this horrible scene, Yu still felt very uncomfortable. If it weren't for his strong psychological quality, Yu would have vomited. Almost at the same time, the two ninjas thought they had succeeded. After successfully killing Kakashi, they turned around and attacked Yu and the others. Naruto was completely shocked by the scene just now. Sasuke's speed was very fast. The moment the two ninjas swung the chain blades over, he threw out several kunai. Ding tilde. A kunai nailed the chain blade to the tree next to it. It was just a feint this time. The real target of the two ninjas was Dasna. The two were also very fast. They appeared in front of Dasna in an instant. After Sasuke found out that he had been fooled, he immediately shouted, "Sakura, be careful." He wanted to rescue, but the distance was too far and it was too late. Sakura's quality was not bad. Although she didn't know any ninjutsu, she was not shocked by the scene just now. Pull out the kunai and stand in front of Dasna. Don't overestimate yourself. When the two ninjas saw Sakura standing in front of Dasna, they sneered at her for overestimating herself. It was obvious that both of them could see that Sakura's strength was definitely not enough to stop them. Just when the two appeared in front of Sakura. Suddenly, I felt a terrifying force hitting my chest. Bang, bang. Boom, boom. In just a moment, the bodies of the two were shot behind them like cannonballs. The terrifying force even made them break 2 rows of trees before they stopped. Sakura held the kunai in both hands and looked at Yu standing in front of her. At this time, Yu looked calm. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, Sakura said to Yu in a trembling voice, Yu, thank you. Although she couldn't see Yu's movements clearly, it was obvious the two ninjas were knocked out by Yu. Standing behind Sakura, Dasna, who almost thought he was going to die, came back to his senses and looked at Yu who was standing in front of him. Although there was only his back, he felt extremely safe. He murmured to himself, I said this guy is very reliable. Sasuke, who had always wanted to know what strength Yu had, stared at Yu blankly. He was extremely shocked. Sharingan can't see his movements clearly, this guy is a monster. Sasuke was very proud, but he couldn't see Yu's movements clearly even if he opened Sharingan at this time. Even if his Sharingan only had one Magatama, he should be able to see the movements of most ninjas clearly. This guy's speed is so terrible that even Sharingan can't see his movements clearly. Kakashi, who had been hiding in the dark and observing, was also shocked. Although he knew that Yu was very talented and had the strength of Chunin level. But the power that Yu showed just now was not Chunin level. Even though Yu had only kicked twice, using only physical skills. But Kakashi clearly felt that Yu's physical skills had improved several times compared to the previous fight with him. Came to the two ninjas who were kicked dozens of meters away. Looking at the two ninjas whose chests were already bloody, Kakashi muttered to himself, how much strength did this kid use to kick them like this? The two men had no signs of life. These two ninjas are still Chunin. Is this kid's strength enough to kill two Chunin in an instant? Kakashi found it incredible. His strength has improved too fast. When Kakashi tested Yu before, Yu only had the strength of Chunin. Even if it was a very powerful level among Chunin, it was only Chunin. But the strength that Yu showed just now was already the strength to kill Chunin in an instant. This means that Yu already has the strength of Jonin level. This is when he only used physical skills. Yu has learned Chidori. Although Yu seemed to have failed to release Chidori that night. But Kakashi saw clearly that Yu had succeeded, and then his chakra was just out of control, which made the power of this technique much stronger. Even though Yu can't control his chakra now, his strength in physical skills alone is not inferior to that of a Jonin. Chapter 38. It's just that Yu's strength is improving too fast. Even though Kakashi thought Yu had a very strong talent before and had the potential to catch up with the fourth Hokage in the future, he didn't expect Yu's strength to improve so fast. Now Yu only lacks a few lethal ninjutsu. And he has a very high talent for learning ninjutsu. I'm afraid it won't be long before Yu really has the strength of a Jonin, or even an elite Jonin. Shaking his head, Kakashi made seals with both hands, Earth Escape Earth Flow Wall technique. In an instant, several earth walls appeared around the bodies of the two ninjas, and several earth walls buried the bodies of the two ninjas inside. After dealing with the things here, Kakashi walked out of the woods. Looking at the broken trees along the way. Even Kakashi was shocked. How strong must this kid be to be able to knock down these big trees? It's just the aftermath, but it can knock down so many trees. I'm afraid ordinary ninjutsu can't do it. Come to Yu and others. Looking at Yu standing there with a calm face. Seeing Kakashi appear, Yu asked, what happened to the two ninjas? Kakashi sighed, all dead. Do you know who they are? Although Yu knew that the two were ninjas from the Hidden Mist Village, he still asked. Two Chunins from the Hidden Mist Village, their target should be Mr. Dasna. Kakashi looked at Dasna. He knew that Dasna must have concealed the difficulty of this mission from them. There are ninjas, and two Chunins. This is definitely not a C-level mission, but a B-level mission. Kakashi even thinks that these two Chunins are not the strongest ninjas encountered in this mission. It is obvious that these two Chunins were sent to explore the way. There will even be a Jonin in this mission, which is an A-level mission. There is a huge difference between A-level and C-level missions. The hiring fee alone is very different. The maximum for a C-level mission is only 50,000 taels, while the minimum for an A-level mission is 150,000 taels. Yu also looked at Dasna. Two pairs of eyes stared at him, and Dasna was very nervous. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Although he was very nervous, Dasna pretended to be calm and asked. Kakashi said coldly, "Mr. Dasna, those two ninjas are coming for you." Dasna denied it flatly. "How is it possible? They are obviously coming for you." Kakashi frowned. Seeing that Kakashi was a little unhappy, Yu reminded him, "Mr. Dasna, if you don't explain the details of this mission, we can't guarantee that we will continue to perform the mission. You don't have to hide it. I think these two ninjas are definitely not the last batch. If we give up this mission, what will happen to you?" Yu felt that if he didn't force Dasna to explain clearly, Kakashi would have to give up this mission. Dasna originally wanted to hide it, but after seeing Yu's serious look, he sighed and told the truth. After Dasna finished speaking, he looked at Yu and Kakashi. "We really need that bridge in the wave country. I know the difficulty of hiding this mission, but our wave country is very poor and doesn't even have ninjas. We can't afford the commission for the A-level mission. Please help our wave country. Please." Dasna knelt down. Yu looked at Kakashi. He didn't say anything. He was waiting for Kakashi to make a decision. After all, he was the one who could decide whether to continue the mission. After Kakashi helped Dasna up, he asked Yu and the others, "Do you think we should continue the mission or give up and go back to the village?" Kakashi still gave the decision to Yu and the others. Yu did not express his opinion. Sasuke's eyes were fixed on Yu. He still hadn't recovered from the shock Yu gave him. Sakura saw that Sasuke didn't speak, so she didn't speak either. Naruto was scared and stood there stupidly. No one spoke, and Dasna was very nervous. If Kakashi and the others were unwilling to protect him, the bridge in the land of waves would not be built. Kato hired a senior ninja, and only a senior ninja like Kakashi could protect him. And the strength Yu showed just now had given Dasna enough trust. In his opinion, as long as Kakashi and Yu were there, the Jonin hired by Kato should not be able to kill him. Kakashi looked at Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura and shook his head. The three were still rookies and were completely frightened by the situation just now. He could only look at Yu. Yu was also a little speechless. He didn't originally. What do you want to say? After all, he is not a member of Team 7. This mission is Team 7's mission, not his mission. However, Yu felt that if he didn't say something, Kakashi would really lead the team back. "Teacher Kakashi, I think we should continue this mission. I am willing to believe what Mr. Dasna said." Kakashi nodded. "Since you said so, let's continue this mission. But Mr. Dasna, you must tell us what ninja the person who wants to kill you hired, so that we can be prepared." Kakashi is willing to continue this mission, and Dasna is naturally very happy. He quickly told a few people about Kato's situation, and also said, "Kato hired a Jonin from the Hidden Mist village, and it seems that he is a very powerful Jonin." Kakashi murmured to himself, "As expected, there is really a Jonin." Kakashi looked solemn. This time he brought 4 genin with him. It would be fine if he was alone. Yu was not worried. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura are genuine genin. When the 3 of them faced the Jonin, there was no way to survive. Kakashi looked at Yu and said, "Yu, Mr. Dasna is now in your hands. No matter what happens, you must ensure his safety. Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura, you 3 must follow Yu closely. If you are alone, it is easy to be defeated by the enemy one by one." Although Sasuke was very unhappy, Kakashi meant that Yu was stronger than them. Just thinking of the strength that Yu showed just now, Sasuke nodded reluctantly, although he was unwilling. Sakura naturally had no emotions. If it weren't for Yu just now, she would have been killed. Yu saved her life, and Sasuke nodded, so she naturally wouldn't refuse. And Naruto was still staring at them blankly. Kakashi looked at Naruto and sighed. "Naruto, what about you?" Kakashi's words brought Naruto back to his senses. I have no opinion." At this moment, he felt the gap between himself and Yu and Sasuke. Although Sasuke's performance was not as good as Yu's just now, he was definitely the best among the three members of the team. And he did nothing the whole time, just standing there in a daze. Naruto gritted his teeth, ashamed of his cowardice just now. "Next time, I will definitely stand in front of Sasuke and Yu, and I will definitely surpass them." After saying that, Naruto pulled out a kunai and pierced his palm with a knife. Everyone was stunned. Naruto's self-mutilation behavior surprised everyone. Soon, Kakashi nodded. "Although the performance just now was not ideal, it's good to know that you are ashamed." In fact, Kakashi was not very satisfied with Naruto's performance just now. However, this was his first time to go out of the village to perform a mission, and his first time to encounter a murder scene, so it was understandable that his performance was a little worse. Now Naruto knows how to reflect on himself, so he is not hopeless. In fact, Yu didn't want to take action in this crisis. Because this was the mission of Team 7, and the ones who were trained were Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura. If he took action, he would not be able to achieve the purpose of training them. But when the two ninjas were about to kill Sakura, Kakashi was still hiding in the woods and didn't show up, so he had no choice but to take action. Yu knew that Kakashi must want him to take action to test Yu's actual combat level. Chapter 39. Kakashi was very pleased with Naruto's actions. He walked to him and said, "If you don't stop the bleeding, you might die." Naruto, who was originally determined, panicked when he heard that he would die. I don't want to die." Kakashi sighed and was about to bandage his wound. But when he took Naruto's hand, the wound on Naruto's hand was about to heal. Kakashi was shocked. Is this the power of the Nine Tails? The recovery ability is really strong. When Kakashi bandaged Naruto, Naruto kept asking, "Teacher Kakashi, will I really die?" Kakashi shook his head. "Okay." After the bandage was done, Kakashi came to everyone. "The next mission will be very dangerous. Sakura, Sasuke, do you want to go back to Konoha or continue this mission?" Sasuke looked at Yu and said as if he was competing, "Of course, continue this mission." Although Sakura was reluctant, she was scared because the two ninjas almost killed her just now. But Sasuke said so. Even if she was scared, she still said bravely, "I will do what Sasuke does." Naruto, who came over, also said with a firm face, "Next time I will never do the same as before." Kakashi nodded. "Well, then continue to carry out this mission." The few people started to hurry again. Along the way, Sasuke's eyes were always on Yu. Yu's performance just now was much better than his. Although his performance in the first actual combat was the best among the three people in Team 7. But the gap compared with Yu was too big. This guy obviously doesn't have a Sharingan, but his speed is so fast that he killed two Chunins in seconds. He is obviously the same age as me, but I am far inferior to him. If this goes on, how can I kill that guy? Thinking of Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke's ambition became stronger. It was really because Yu shocked him too much just now. Maybe if I can defeat Yu, I can defeat that man. In Sasuke's opinion, Yu has the same talent as his brother. When Uchiha Itachi exterminated his clan, he was only 13 years old. At the age of 13, he had the strength to exterminate the Uchiha clan. At the age of 13, he had the strength of Kage. If Yu knew that Sasuke regarded him and Uchiha Itachi as people with the same talent, he would definitely not think so. He was not sure that he could be upgraded to Kage level in a year. After all, strictly speaking, he has not learned a single lethal ninjutsu. The first time he released Chidori, it seemed to be successful, but in Yu's opinion, it was a complete failure. because he did not control it. Sakura also kept looking at Yu. She was very curious about Yu. When she was in ninja school, she didn't know that Yu was so powerful. Or rather, when she was in ninja school, she didn't even know that Yu existed. Yu at that time really had no sense of existence. The strength that Yu has shown now also shows that he completely concealed his strength when he was in the ninja school. What kind of mentality can restrain the desire to show off his talent in front of his peers at such a young age? Sakura couldn't understand. Walking beside Yu, Sakura asked curiously, Yu, why didn't I have any impression of you when I was in the ninja school? Yu said lightly as he walked, maybe I'm too mediocre. Sakura rolled her eyes at Yu. How are you mediocre? I think your strength may be the same as Kakashi's now. In Sakura's eyes, Yu and Kakashi are almost the same. After all, Yu's behavior of killing two Chunins in front of her was too shocking. Yu waved his hand. Then you don't understand the strength of Kakashi, teacher. He is the most powerful Jonin in our Konoha village now. Don't look at him as if he is lazy. In fact, he has a great reputation in the ninja world. He became a Jonin when he was our age. And he has made great achievements in the war. At that time, his teacher was the fourth Hokage. Originally, Sakura, who only wanted to know Yu, was stunned when she heard what Yu said. Although she had learned about Kakashi through Ino before. But she only knew that Kakashi was very strong. But Ino didn't say that Kakashi was the most powerful Jonin in Konoha. Sasuke didn't expect that Kakashi would be so strong. Naruto looked unconvinced. How is it possible? Although Kakashi teacher is a Jonin, how can he be so powerful, and his teacher is actually the fourth Hokage? The fourth Hokage is the person Naruto admires the most. Although he didn't know the fourth Hokage, it was his own father, but the fourth Hokage sealed the 9 tails and saved Konoha village. He was the hero of Konoha village, which was what Naruto admired the most. It was also because he often heard about the deeds of the fourth Hokage that Naruto dreamed of becoming a Hokage in the future since he was a child. Becoming a hero like the fourth Hokage would make the whole village accept him. So when he knew that Kakashi was actually the disciple of the fourth Hokage, he was shocked. Yu looked at Naruto and said, "This information is not confidential." Kakashi teacher was only 12 years old, the same age as us, and he was promoted to Jonin because of his military exploits. And he has the reputation of copying ninja in the ninja world. He has a strong deterrent ability in the ninja world. And the fourth generation Hokage was indeed Kakashi teacher's teacher. During the Third Ninja World War, Kakashi teacher was very famous on the battlefield. And he graduated from the ninja school at the age of 5 and was promoted to Chunin at the age of 6. When listening to Yu talking about these deeds, Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura all looked at Kakashi blankly. This lazy guy in front of them is so powerful. They couldn't believe it at all. But the three knew that Yu had no need to lie to them. Even the protected Dasna looked at Kakashi with a look of profit at this time. After all, he made a fortune by having such a powerful ninja as his bodyguard and only paying a commission for AC level mission. And with Kakashi around, he felt that the Jonin hired by Kato should not be able to hurt him. Kakashi had a headache. Okay, let's not talk about these past events. Yu smiled and said, just chatting. In fact, Yu said this mainly for Sasuke. Sasuke has always wanted to pursue power. For revenge, he was even willing to join Orochimaru's camp and take the risk of being occupied by him to get power. Yu said this to let Sasuke know that he can be very powerful with Kakashi. In Yu's opinion, what Sasuke needs most is not the curse seal, but the development of the Sharingan. If the Sharingan is not well developed, no matter how powerful the curse seal is, the upper limit will be at most the cage level. Although for ordinary ninjas, the cage level is already very powerful. But the cage level is obviously not enough for the subsequent Fourth Ninja World War. Chapter 40. Sasuke was indeed persuaded by Yu. At this time, he looked at Kakashi, his eyes full of desire for power. He felt that Kakashi could really make him extremely powerful. Sakura was very curious about Yu. Yu actually knew so much about Kakashi. How good was Kakashi to Yu? Teacher Kakashi, did you tell Yu all this? Sakura looked at Kakashi sourly. The corners of Kakashi's mouth twitched slightly. Looking at Yu's half-smile, he was helpless. Not entirely, he checked a lot of information himself. Sakura snorted. Humph, it must be Kakashi who told him. Sure enough, in Kakashi's heart, Yu is more important than all of us. Naruto also reacted and looked at Kakashi with contempt. Yes, Sakura is right. Teacher Kakashi is too partial. He only told Yu and didn't tell us. Sasuke didn't say anything. But he was also a little unhappy. After all, Kakashi is their teacher, and they should be more important than Yu. I didn't expect Kakashi to tell Yu so much information, but didn't tell himself and others. Kakashi was very troubled. He knew Yu was definitely doing it on purpose. Dasna also fanned the flames and said, Kakashi, it seems that it is difficult to be a teacher. Kakashi could only explain. That's because the time is too short, we didn't get to know each other well. And most of the information was checked by Yu himself, not by me. But Sasuke and the other two didn't believe Kakashi's explanation. Naruto shouted. No, Teacher Kakashi, you can't be partial, you have to teach us ninjutsu. I want to learn the ninjutsu that Yu used to kill those two ninjas in seconds just now. Sakura nodded in agreement. Yes, Naruto is right. Sasuke was a little speechless. He knew that Yu didn't use any ninjutsu just now. Kakashi smiled bitterly and said, Yu didn't use any ninjutsu just now, he used physical skills. And I didn't teach him physical skills. But Naruto and Sakura didn't believe it. How is this possible? If Kakashi didn't teach him, how could he be so strong? Kakashi looked at Yu, very helpless. Yu didn't say anything. Kakashi could only say, when I have time, I will take you to practice together. Naruto and Sakura were very happy to get Kakashi's promise. Sasuke was also looking forward to it. After all, Kakashi's talent is almost the same as Uchiha Itachi's in the past. Maybe even stronger than Uchiha Itachi. Walking for a long time. Finally entered the Land of Waves. This is a small country on the edge of the Land of Fire. It has a small population and even no ninjas. You can imagine how poor this country is. But the environment of this country is not bad. There are many lakes and forest resources, which is a good place to develop tourism. And because it is close to the sea, developing fisheries is also a very good way. After all, the country of waves is small, and tourism and fisheries can support the survival of the country of waves. Mr. Dasna, your country is in good condition. Yu praised. Dasna was stunned for a moment. He thought Yu was speaking in a sarcastic way. The country of waves is indeed weak. There is no way, the country is too poor. Yu shook his head. I am serious, your country is small and has a small population, but various tourism resources are very rich, plus fisheries are enough to make the country rich. Now the ninja world is generally in a period of peace. And the tourism industry is very developed in peacetime. Dasna was stunned for a moment. How could anyone come to such a remote place for tourism? He didn't believe it. Yu shook his head. There are many such people. As long as people in other countries know that there is such a place, do a good job of publicity. There are still many rich people in the world. Dasna thought about it, although he didn't believe what Yu said. But think about it, it is indeed feasible. All of this needs to be done after the bridge is built, otherwise no one will come no matter how good the tourism resources are. Yu nodded. That's right. Kakashi on the side looked at Yu and was very satisfied. Ninjas belong to the military department of a country. It is a full-time organization. They generally don't need to think about economic issues. In addition to the commission for hiring ninjas, the country will also allocate military funds. They don't need to consider money issues at all. Of course, if they offend the daimyo, it's another matter, such as the Sand Village. Generally speaking, the relationship between the ninja village and the daimyo is mutually beneficial. The daimyo also hopes that the ninja village will be strong to protect the interests of the entire country. The Sand Village has a very bad relationship with the daimyo, which results in the daimyo giving very little military expenditure every year. As a result, the strength of the Sand Village is very weak, and the number of ninjas cannot be compared with the other 4 major ninja villages. Ordinary ninjas do not need to consider economic issues, but high-level officials like Hokage do. After all, ninjas need to spend a lot of money and materials to cultivate. Without economy, ninja villages will only become weaker and weaker. Many small ninja villages cannot provide sufficient economic support because their countries are too weak. And Yu can consider economic issues, and his insights are also good. This is what Kakashi is very pleased about. But obviously, except for Yu and Kakashi, Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura are not interested in this topic. They are still more concerned about ninjutsu and ninja matters. Naruto was nervous all the way. It was not because he was afraid, but because he performed too poorly before. So he hoped to find a ninja along the way, and then defeat the opponent himself to avenge his previous shame. Just as they passed by a lake, Naruto found a noise in the bushes next to him. Naruto seemed to have found a treasure, and threw a few kunai at the bushes with excitement. With a few sounds of breaking wind, the target in the bushes seemed to be hit. Naruto was so happy that he rushed into the bushes regardless of Kakashi's stop. Ha ha ha, I hit it. Naruto rushed into the bushes and wanted to show off to the others that he had hit the enemy. But he was embarrassed when he saw a few kunai piercing a rabbit and the rabbit was bleeding. Sakura came over and saw this scene and was angry. She punched Naruto on the head. Stupid Naruto, what did you do? Obviously, for a girl like Sakura, the scene of kunai piercing the rabbit into a bloody mess was too shocking. Naruto was also embarrassed. Sorry, I didn't know, I thought it was an enemy. Sasuke, Yu and Kakashi did not go over, and the 3 of them stood beside Dasuna. Naruto's behavior made Kakashi helpless. This kid really hasn't changed at all. Sasuke curled his lips. Idiot. Yu just smiled. He was not surprised by Naruto's behavior. After all, if he didn't do this, he wouldn't be Naruto.